Sakura Genesis is in the books, and the Samurai Dad is still our champion. Desperado is still the king of the junior heavyweight division, and SANADA turned his back on the Bullet Club by joining Bullet Club. Well, we'll see if we can figure it out. We're going to talk Sakura Genesis, preview Windy City Riot. We even have Chris Samsa stopping by a little bit later, so it should be a really fun show. With Jeremy Feinstone, I'm Stephen Conway. This is Speaking of Strong Style. Mokiobi des. It's Thursday. Welcome everyone to Speaking of Strong Style, where we discuss the news, issues, and events surrounding New Japan Pro Wrestling. Jeremy, we have had a Sakura Genesis, Sakura Junior Genesis. We've seen a little bit of everything in the New Japan ring this week, from hardcore matches to some terrific technical wrestling to, frankly, a couple of stinkers in there too. So it really ran the gamut for me, these two shows, one at Korakuen Hall and one at Ryogoku Kokugikan. How are you feeling coming out of Sakura Genesis?
Pretty good. I thought we got a lot and a little of everything all rolled into one this past weekend. In addition to the plethora of awesomeness that we got this past weekend, we also got during the introduction the joining of one Chris Samsa, who is going to be with us here today, and we're going to get his thoughts about these shows as well. Chris, how you doing?
Hello. Thanks for having me.
I'm glad you're here. Thank you for joining us. Yeah,
I always forget that Google or Safari does not play nice with any of these streaming platforms, so I always have to tap into my Google Chrome. So here I am. So that is why I'm one and a half minutes late. But thank you for having me. Thank you for being here.
You're good. We're a 3-man booth today. Happy to have you. And I was just saying the Sakura Genesis shows, the two semi-mains on the Junior Genesis show, did a lot for me personally, and I thought the card on the undercard on the Genesis show was a little uneven, but with the main event being what it was, I was more than willing to look past that and thought it was a good card. Chris, what did you think?
Sakura Genesis or the
both
shows
in general?
Yeah. I like the idea of Junior Genesis. I thought it was neat. I don't love splitting out the juniors though. I just that there's such a cool that division is such a cool division, right? And it always has been. It's always been a signature division for New Japan. So it's sort of the balancing act of like giving them the time and space to do what they can do. And Despy is sort of the king of Korakuen right now, right? El Desperado, both in New Japan and outside of New Japan for that matter. So I was underwhelmed by the hardcore match with Clark Connors, even though they did some wild stuff, mostly because I watched the Crazy Fest show, where El Desperado, essentially bled out. So, when they announced a hardcore match right after or right in the midst of that match happening, the El Desperado Crazy Fest match, I was like, well, why would you do this? It feels like they're setting themselves up to fail. And failure is overstating it by far, because I do think they did a great job with that. But it was a curious decision after the death match. So, and then Sakura Genesis, I think you sort of nailed it. It was a main event show. There was some other good stuff on it, but it was all about Goto versus Finlay. And I guess, a little bit of the Tanahashi Shota Umino thing. I'm sure we're going to talk about the state of Shota Umino. So I won't go too deep there, but it was very much a top loaded show, and that it drove some ticket sales. Ryogoku's always a great building. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the show. I enjoyed some of the progress that was made via that show. I thought it was the most 50-50 title match that we've seen in New Japan in a while, where like going into it, you're like, David Finlay could win. Or Goto could win, right? So, I came out of it not guns a-blazing like I did after New Beginning in Osaka. I thought that was still the best show of the year for New Japan. And but it was still, it was where I would put this show, right? It was what I expected out of a Sakura Genesis card. So I do think we're coming into Windy City Riot on a high note in general. You know, quick turnaround, not a lot of time to make anything happen story-wise. But there's enough going on that they were able to tap into to keep the momentum, I think.
It's a really busy schedule this time of year, so they have a lot to do. They have a lot of angles to run. They have a lot of stories to tell, because it's not just station to station. They're doing, like you said, setting up Windy City Riot. Then they have to set up Dontaku, which is not far away. That's coming in Golden Week at the beginning of May. Then Resurgence is right on the heels of that. Then we're getting right into Super Juniors Dominion. So things are happening quickly. So with this show, it did feel like we got a lot to get done here. You know, like it seemed like every single match had somebody calling out somebody or challenging somebody else and things. And that's not a bad thing. It's just different than what we're maybe used to for New Japan. It was just a lot. And of course we even had, like I mentioned, Chris, you weren't quite here on yet, but I said that SANADA managed to turn his back on Bullet Club by joining Bullet Club. And, had the whole big angle there where probably the only people surprised were a couple members of the War Dogs, but all that happened there. And so it does set us off in some directions, and we're going to go into that, and we'll review the shows here. I want to say hi to Colin and Bankin. Glad you guys are here. Scott Edwards is here. Scott E Wrestling. Glad you're with us. And he mentions that NJPW having the best men's world champion, making the pivot at the right time a few months ago. What a fun idea. Yeah, I mean, right now, Goto is just riding this wave of sentimentality that's still going. I thought there was a decent chance that Finlay was going to win this thing, and I still think that Finlay will probably be a champion at some point in the course of the year. But with Goto and with recent success at the box office, which is no small deal for New Japan, they're still a ticket-selling company. That matters to them. They don't have the big TV contracts that North American companies do, so ticket sales matter, and he's been doing well there. So you can't blame him for going with the hot hand.
Yeah, I don't think there's a better booked world champion right now than Hirooki Goto, and I don't say that lightly. I think between WWE and AEW, through all the big promotions, I think no world champion is connecting more with the audience right now between the promotion and the relationship with the audience than Goto and the fans right now. There's something tangible, and it's just working. It's just working. I can't put any other way to put it.
Yeah.
Well, that's how we got here, right? I mean, right. He forced New Japan.
He willed it into existence.
Yeah. I mean, that's ultimately what happened, and that's cool, right? There's nothing wrong with that.
That's what you want. You want the guy to rise. Okay, I'm the guy,
and you want a booker to be, or a booking committee, right? Let's be honest. It's not one man making decisions in New Japan.
Right.
One man gets credit. Many people are in the room.
It's the shorthand guy that they like to just say.
and a couple of those guys in the room that have a lot of influence also got title matches right after Goto won the championship, right? So, like, I mean, it should be no secret that Yuji Nagata and Hiroshi Tanahashi carry a lot of weight in the direction of New Japan Pro Wrestling. So, but they can still go, and they both had good matches with Goto. So I don't know enough about I don't know enough about any of the, I don't know, how a handful of world champions WWE has to call it the best booked world champion right now. I know enough about AEW and my, general distaste with the Moxley, run right now. Not that the big matches haven't delivered, but the campy TV stuff has never been for me. So, I have to say, I mean, Goto is delivering as advertised for New Japan. So at least there's that. And, he's about to headline a show in the United States. And that's something that he has not done. And ticket sales are I think, as expected, at least. They've crossed 4,000 tickets sold in Chicago for Windy City Riot, which is nothing to scoff at. So, and most of those were sold before they announced the match with Shota Umino. So hard to credit him, but everyone knew Goto was going to be there, and some of the other key players. So I think ultimately you have to call it a success.
Yeah, it's hard to call New Japan a hot product right now, but you can't call them a warm one. It's trending in the correct direction, and we've seen that. This show here, Sakura Genesis, was about on par with what last year, almost exactly what last year's Sakura Genesis did, but up from King of Pro Wrestling, which was the last major Sumo Hall card, Ryogoku Kukugi-kan, when that one was headlined by Zack and Naito. Naito versus Tsuji last year also drew about 6,600. That was what was listed anyway as the attendance, about 6,600.
It was interesting. Wrestle Kingdom and Wrestle Dynasty, you weren't really quite sure what the vision of New Japan was going to be in like 2025. But like Chris said, once New Beginning at Osaka hit, we started at a high level and we're just maintaining a positive trajectory, through these shows going into Dontaku. And we'll talk about the best of the Super Juniors lineup and some of the ways that they got those listed up. But like you guys are saying, we're heading in good direction, and there's a lot to be positive about going into the next few months for New Japan Pro Wrestling.
So Sakura Junior Genesis was April 4th. Let's take a look at that card right here. The undercard was fine. There wasn't a ton there to talk about. We had a fun opener with Mao and Yuya Koroku against Katsuya Murashima and Ninja Mac. A lot of flying and jumping and things. It was enjoyable to watch. Mao's terrific. He beat Murashima and then took the mic and basically announced that he was going to be in Super Juniors. And we found out at Sakura Genesis that he was indeed. So that was as close to a I'm in the Royal Rumble declaration as you're ever going to see right in New Japan, where he just basically said, I'll see you in May. But I'm happy about Mao being in there because I think he's really, really talented. And I think he's going to mix well with some of the guys. So I was happy about that. Jeremy, what did you think about that one?
I was really into Mao the entire time. And I'm starting to wonder, like, is he going to be more of a New Japan, like, guy going into 2025 after the Super Juniors? Because that reaction that he got at the show took me back a little bit. Like, these guys know who he is and they are into him, and it's like, let's go. And then once he was there, it was like he didn't care that it was the beginning of the show. He was ready to go like it was the semi-main. So gotta like what the guy brings to the table. Chris, what do you got? Anything?
I mean, he's a dude. The people that follow DDT, like, he's a guy that people pay attention to the same way people were paying attention to Konosuke Takeshita. So he's maybe next up in that way for the what we like to call a soft jump. When you lightly jump into a different promotion, but you kind of maintain your relationship with your original. So good, cool opener. You sort of knew who was at least going to take the pin, whether or not you knew who was going to give the pin. But it was fun. And, Mao's a guy that should be very comfortable in Korakuen Hall. So I'm looking forward to seeing him in different environments.
After that, we had Hiroshi Tanahashi and Ryusuke Taguchi. Now, this is part of the kinship series here of Hiroshi Tanahashi getting his singles matches with all of his buddies, basically. And we had some interesting stats, courtesy of our guest, Chris Samsa, sportprowrestling.com, and mentioned by Walker and Chris Charlton on the air.
And give it to our Discord as well. Chris sent us the notes ahead of time, and he is going to be doing so in the future.
Yes. That's great news. That's fantastic news. Two of the most experienced singles wrestlers in Korakuen Hall for New Japan right now, Taguchi and Tanahashi. Tanahashi's no surprise, but I bet a lot of people were surprised that Taguchi's had that many big singles matches and that much ring time at Korakuen. Of course, he's been around and in a prominent position, was in a very prominent position in the junior heavyweight ranks for quite a while Taguchi was. But what was it, the most singles matches and the most ring time in the company?
Taguchi, yes, Taguchi has the most ring time, singles ring time in Korakuen Hall ever. That was his 92nd or 93rd singles match in Korakuen Hall.
Is that for New Japan, or is that just, we're talking New Japan on that? Or
yes. So we're just talking New Japan, but New Japan runs Korakuen the most.
Well, certainly.
Historically, and as well as definitely over the last decade. So if that's not the case, I would be surprised to find someone non-New Japan who wrestled more in Korakuen.
I can't think of someone from All Japan that would have beaten that. Now that I think, especially in singles, because they didn't run more singles matches than New Japan did anyway. So yeah, probably so.
Right. That? Yeah. So I think I could confidently say that Taguchi spent the most time in singles matches. I mean, Tanahashi was coming into the match was 5 minutes behind Taguchi.
He still is, even after that match.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's how math works. They're both in there, and the bell rings for both of them, right? But Tanahashi's had 20 fewer matches. But Taguchi also holds the record for the most singles losses in Korakuen Hall. So he's where's he at? He's 43 and 49 now in Korakuen. So yeah, I mean, this match fed my ego without a doubt, because there was like all this stuff that's so specific that only I would ever know it. So at least I had
Crack
that going
the knuckle.
For me. Yeah, I was like, Taguchi in Korakuen, huh? And believe it or not, like that's something I knew like inherently, because I've looked at enough Taguchi and Korakuen and singles data that I was like, oh cool, like this one's for me. Like, this is a Chris Samsa offer match is what it is. It's just like, give me the most specific information that you can possibly want. So I was proud to put those bullet points down, and I'm glad they got put to good use. But yeah, I mean, it was the match itself was what you would expect it to be with Taguchi and Tanahashi in there. But Taguchi's a guy. And you know what? Taguchi appreciates the data points too. I know that. I have been told that Taguchi appreciates the data points. So he got to find your pride somewhere. If he's not going to buy new gear and look good, he's got to at least be able to point to the Korakuen total match time total.
I was saying that look, it was a basic friendly match there, by the way. Sling blade, high fly flow, basic stuff. But between two guys who have been allies for 20 years. Both on storyline and probably in real life, they seem to be.
There's a lot of the Tanahashi matches where I found myself pleasantly surprised, and we had that Shingo match that I really, really liked from that we reviewed on our last show, and we'll have another one coming up that we'll be reviewing that happens on the next day. I think this one was just fine. I don't think it was a pleasantly surprised match. It wasn't bad, but it was just kind of there, and in the catalog of going over 2025 and recommending the matches of Tanahashi that he has, I don't think this is going to be at the top of everyone's list, and that's fine.
No, but New Japan knew that. That's why they put it basically first on the show. I mean, right after the pre-match show. I mean, they knew where it was.
It was like the Makabe match.
Yeah.
A match
just saying it for posterity, because we're going to be reflecting on this and over the course of the year, just talking about it, just remembering what we say and just the trend and where it goes from here.
After that, we had a trios preview tag match, and that was Callum Newman, Jacob Austin Young, and Jeff Cobb against LIJ, Bushi, Hiromu, and Naito. My only note for this match was Bushi worked hard. And he did. If you watch that match, Bushi worked pretty hard in that one. But, it was just a basic preview right there. Tour of the Islands finish for Cobb, and as they build toward the tag team title match the next night.
You got anything for it?
Heard Cobb's leaving.
It seems like Cobb's really not digging it at all. And
no one's more frosted than Cobb is. My goodness, like he is just sitting down on this one it's his gimmick now. It's his gimmick now. By the way, on this show, we didn't say he was leaving. We just said there was smoke. We didn't say there was fire on that. And I went back and checked. I said, oh, God, did we say that he was leaving? No, we did not.
If it was happening, and then within like a couple hours of that show, like a lot of people got.
No, well, I went back and looked. I just said, please tell me I didn't say those words. And I didn't, thank God.
There's still plenty of smoke.
Yeah, there is.
There's still plenty of smoke.
But until the building's on fire, it's not on fire.
they're hitting it so hard, it almost feels like the misdirection play right there. He can't win the belts. He's leaving. Oh, he won the belts. He must not be leaving. Oh shit, where is he?
Let's remember that Carl Anderson was the never openweight champion when he appeared with WWE. So I mean,
it's a different world than it used to be.
There's a whole lot of things that can happen. Right now, I feel like we are in a holding pattern where Cobb will be doing some business for New Japan. And until he shows up on WWE TV, I think we're just business as usual. But I think it's possible that he could show up on WWE.
But that is also business as usual for Jeff Cobb. He's been doing this for like 4 years. Every spring, Cobb, some rumor comes out that Cobb's leaving. Yeah. And, you know, by the G1, everyone knows he's around at least until Wrestle Kingdom. It's just what he does. And it's fine. It's fine. Here, I'm just going to say it. All of the English speaking wrestlers, if you hear a rumor about them, or if it's posted by a reputable source like Fightful, you can bet that they got that information directly from that wrestler. That's it. Like, and that's okay.
That's what a camp is.
That's okay. And that's okay. But I'm telling you, that's pretty much what's happened. And I don't know that for a fact about Jeff Cobb, but I can say that confidently and publicly that is likely the source.
Yeah, and you know, when you look at this stuff, we've talked about it before on the show, but it's been a few weeks, but it's kind of amazing that Cobb has lasted this long without signing a big deal in North America, just because of his age. You know, he's in his 40s now. It's about time if someone's offering him a big money contract, but he has a life in Japan.
He does.
He has a life more so than a lot of guys do who live in Japan. He's got a little bit more of a life there, and I mean that outside of the ring rather than gym, match, hotel. He's got a life in Japan, so that's something to think about as well. So but
ultimately he's really well suited for New Japan. Always has been. Like he is. He's a real genuine athlete. He shoots straight. He can turn it up and turn it down the way that you sort of need to for the big touring schedule. Jeff Cobb has been an incredible member of the New Japan roster. I will, but I also get you have to get paid and you want to live in a place that's comfortable for you to live forever. Right. So, if Cobb leaves, this might be my only chance to talk about this, but if Cobb leaves, we should praise the work he did in New Japan, and we should understand that he also, he's done a lot. And I don't know what's left for him to do unless, he were to do a repackage and get a big monster push again. But he's had the big tournament runs, the big G1s. The only thing he really hasn't done is a big singles championship run.
Outside of like a TV title, which is
TV title and Never stuff and all that, and the Never stuff was even in the ROH era. It
just wasn't quite at the level of like high prestige title.
You could push him further believably, and no one would blink at it in a negative way, right? Everyone would look at that and be like, yeah, that makes sense. So, I think he's a guy who's probably got his options open, but he could be a really cool character or player in a different place too. So, he's going to do what's best for him and his family. And I think that's cool. And he's a guy who's going to lean into it. And we all know that. And I think that's fun too, because I don't think it's a way to quote unquote get the IWC. The IWC is not a real thing. Everyone has the internet. So I don't think it's like that. I think it's legitimately just for fun. And he thinks it's fun, and he likes to get a little rib in. And so we'll talk.
And it's something that's contagious in the dressing room too, because now everyone's like laughing about Naito. Oh, you're a free agent now. You're not a New Japan guy anymore. That type of stuff. Anyway, so they're starting to have a little bit more public fun with some of this stuff, whereas New Japan kind of stayed straight and narrow with it for a long time, and now they're just kind of like, Hiromu's the leader. Naito's not even a New Japan.
Whole locker room full of freelancers.
Yeah,
I will say I don't know Jeff Cobb. But I know people who know Jeff Cobb. So the degree of separation for the last couple of years of me watching if Jeff Cobb is the living embodiment of the Leonardo DiCaprio, like laughing as he's just enjoying getting a rise out of people for the last couple of years. This is his MO. I appreciate him for it, and I also appreciate what he does in New Japan Pro Wrestling.
All right. Well, we'll see how things turn out with him. For right now, they're we'll get to what happened with them at Sakura Genesis. But after that one, we did have Shingo Takagi and Yota Tsuji. This was a preview match against Dick Togo and Evil. This one did not go very long. Didn't need to. Shingo beat Togo, but the goal was all about softening up Tsuji for Evil. They worked his knee, blah blah blah. The real story was yet to come for this one. So that was just a quick one there at Korakuen Hall. Moved on to an 8-person tag. That was Goto, Yoshihashi, Master Wato, and Yo. Master Wato and Yo, the new sensation junior heavyweight tag team, apparently. They defeated the War Dogs, Finlay, Maloney, Gabe Kidd, and Geto. So one guess as to who took the fall on that one. And it was Wato that made Geto submit to the Vindaval. And again, that was just to set things up for.
Is their tag team name going to be Watio?
Wow. Can you get rid of Jeremy?
Yeah,
it's time to go. He's got to go.
I'm so proud
we need a mute
myself.
button. We need a mute button.
I am so proud of myself.
Oh, boy. Yeah, Venkin is correct. It was Geto. Yes, it was Geto. He tapped out. But Geto barely waits till he's in Vindaval to quit now. That's the other part that cracks me up. It's like, if Geto's going to tap, he doesn't really tap. He just screams yes. And he's old school in that way. He doesn't tap anymore. He gives the verbal submission, and he barely waits until he's in the move. I mean, he's putting these guys over as best he can on that one. He's Vindaval looks like the most painful thing on earth when Geto does it. Doesn't even wait to get locked in. Then we had what I loved this next match. It was the junior heavyweight tag team title match. It was Kosei Fujita and Robbie Eagles, the champions, with Hartley Jackson at ringside. Bullet Club War Dogs, Robbie X, and Taiji Ishimori. X and Ishimori were great together. This match had a gorgeous flow for me. X is a hell of a talented dude anyway. One of my favorite tag team matches of the year so far. I don't know if it's my favorite, but it's up there. Fujita is not being carried. He is right in there with all of these guys, every bit as talented. And there were some amazing sequences. Robbie Eagles shooting Robbie X right out of the air with a super kick, where I think he was trying to do like a moonsault or something, got super kicked right in the mush. Some great counters and near falls. This is just one of those where it's everything you would want from a New Japan junior heavyweight tag team title match. This is exactly what you would hope this would be. Fast pace, all kinds of twists and turns, great double team moves, near falls, counters. Loved it. The champions retain, but anytime Robbie X and Ishimori want to come back as a team, I'm here for it.
Chris, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. Robbie X looked great. Better than, aside from, well, never mind. There was a moment where it was like, he didn't know where he was going with that, did he? Ended in a power bomb, so it was cool. It ended up cool. The first couple seconds of it were like, wait, what? The junior tag division in New Japan is so good right now. And I think it gets lost because it's probably the second lowest title on the totem pole of like New Japan title stature. If I'm thinking it through, right, it's only above the Never Six titles in regards to where it would get placed on a card just based on that title. But man, that division since Junior Tag League, really, and even maybe a little bit before, since Junior Tag League, like all these tag teams, first of all, most of them have been really stable. They've been tag teams and they're really established, and they've been established for a little while. And second of all, like they show up and show out. They take every opportunity that they have and they make everything out of it, and this match was no different. And a lot of those matches are these TMDK matches with Robbie Eagles and Kosei Fujita. For my money, Robbie Eagles is a top 5 wrestler in the world. In ring, bell to bell, he is so good and always has been, and needs to get his flowers, right? And I think I'm hopeful for a really great Best of the Super Juniors run for him. Another really great Best of the Super Juniors run from him. He gets it. He shows up when he needs to, and he drives these tag matches. I mean, one of my favorite matches of the year last year was the Junior Tag League final, which was just a sprint. And this was sort of similar in structure and format, right, where it just kind of kept going and there was very little downtime. You'd be hard pressed to find a rest hold in this match.
It was a sprint. It was a sprint.
It was incredible. And 17 minutes.
17 minutes sprint.
That's an incredible sprint. And so loved it. Fujita is a dude. Anyone who's been on board with him since he showed up, or at least since he got added to TMDK, like, high praise to you for recognizing talent right off the bat. I mean, like, he's going to be a guy, and Ishimori, he's such a pillar in the division, in the junior division. And when he shows up, when you get a good performance from Taiji Ishimori, it's something special. I mean, he's an incredibly talented guy too. So Power Junior, like, love to see him work. So this was great. This was my favorite match of the night.
Yeah, me too. And the thing with Ishimori, and I gotta say, I was there at Kingdom and Dynasty, and his abs are even more glorious. It's miraculous. He is in such phenomenal shape, and he wrestles not terribly different. It's different, but not terribly differently than he did 15 years ago, when most people wrestled very differently than they did 15 years ago. And he just stays in great shape. He's had some injuries, but he comes back.
I've never seen Taiji Ishimori and been like, wow, he's let himself go a little bit. Like, never.
I don't think the man's ever had. I don't think a carb has passed his lips in his life.
If him and Kojima have a meal, like, does Ishimori just say, like, no, I'm not having bread? Like, I just can't imagine. I can't imagine what his routine is for decades now. Yeah. Every time he's been on the screen and anywhere, TNA, Noah, New Japan, like, you name it, this man is fit. It is silly.
Okay, so then we came to the main event, the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title hardcore match, Desperado and Clark Connors. Tekla came out from Stardom. She, of course, has been aligned with Connors in her own way. She's part of the hate group there, the heels of Stardom. But, of course, we know that the War Dogs are not the heels of all heels in New Japan, but she was out with them. So was Drilla Maloney. And then the match started, went 37 minutes and 53 seconds. This is where I exit. Jeremy, I'm going to let you talk about this one. I will interject in a key moment. Have at it, boys.
This is not Steven's kind of match at all. Not really my kind of match either, but there's something about when El Desperado does a hardcore match that the intentionality of what he is doing with his opponent has a bit more meaning than, like, oh, we're just going to throw a bunch of shit into a ring and we're going to hit each other with it and we're going to get a pop out of the audience, which is a lot of Western wrestling hardcore matches. We came into this essentially with, Clark Connors and El Desperado easing into the match with a little bit of the smacking and the talking and the hitting, and then you got into the weapons, and then you got into, what do we have? Kendo sticks outside, handcuffed, tied around the post. Desperado took several kendo shots that looked incredibly unpleasant. We had a barbed wire chair that was used by Clark Connors in a spear at one point. Desperado hitting Clark Connors in the head with a chair while he's laying prone on another chair. We had a lot of stuff. The barbed wire was used. Both men's backs were gashed. The story of the match was just Desperado and Clark Connors were going to take each other through hell and back to get where they needed to be in this match. The tables were set out at one point during the match very early on and then left off to the side. They were two tables side by side off to the one of the sides of the cork and entrances. The finale of this match was Clark Connors trying to prepare Desperado for a top rope maneuver, but Desperado turned it into a spine buster through both tables from the top rope, and then he dragged Clark Connors' ass back into the ring and finished the match. Afterwards, and this is somewhat important, Desperado said, Tonight I win. Tomorrow you could be the guy that wins. And they both shared a beer. They flipped each other off. And essentially, Clark Connors turned babyface after this match.
Yeah, and Maloney already had. And the thing with this match here, so let's... Oh, boy. All right, well, first of all, there was a time when the dumbass moment of the match is when Connors takes a real whiskey bottle, which is apparently wrapped in a towel, but he doesn't actually know how to do it. He smashes the bottle against the ring post, which, because he doesn't know how to actually wrap it, and doesn't need to, he's a pro wrestler. You don't have to know this bullshit. It shatters and sends shards of glass into the crowd like an idiot. The other thing is, I am really not interested in the whole, oh, you grab a weapon, I get a weapon, and we smile at each other, and oh, we're going to hurt each other with these weapons. So stupid. It's just so stupid. And after this, after the whiskey bottle thing, my note on that was I wrote whiskey bottle shattered, and then in all caps with underlines, I hate this. That was my note on this. I hated this match. I thought it was the crappiest thing I've watched in the New Japan ring this year. So I don't like this stuff. It's
I don't like it either. But I can't stop these matches from happening, right?
No, I can't.
Get way too many hardcore matches. And either we hate on it or just watch it for what it is. And you can do either. You can hate it and you're totally within your right to be like, this is not why I get into pro wrestling.
It was an episode of Jackass at Corrigan Hall.
Usually the plunder matches are reserved for the United States. Because someone somewhere thinks that the US crowd needs a plunder, and that's essentially what this match was. It was a big plunder match. I assume, well, never mind. It was the longest junior heavyweight title match of all time. That's sort of all I've got on it.
It felt longer.
That I didn't sort of already say. That I sort of didn't already say earlier with the. This match still had nothing on that Crazy Fest match. I mean, it's not even comparable.
Right.
And that's the difference between death match and hardcore match. Right. And it was branded correctly. Right. Yeah. I like death matches. I think that they're unique. It's interesting. It's interesting to see how they do some of that stuff and not and wake up the next morning. I mean, genuinely, hardcore matches are not for me. So there is a difference there. And I think that I knew that coming into this. I didn't know that it was going to be 37 minutes. I just think, and most of that is brought upon by setting up the spots. And that's what you don't have in a death match, is because all that shit's already in the ring in a death match when the bell rings. And the time wasted setting up spots, and then it's sort of a tired trick to set up the tables and then not use them and then go back to them later. That was an incredible spot. I'm not going to take anything away from anyone. There were some incredible spots in this match. Gimmicked, quote unquote, as we learned with the guitar that SANADA used the next night. Gimmicked weapons in Japan are not always well gimmicked, as opposed to
the pros are not gimmicking these weapons for them
on US TV. Sometimes you can tell that the barbed wire is rubber. So all the respect in the world for these guys for doing what they did, and that bump, the dive through the table was pretty incredible. It was 37 minutes of fine. I wish it was 22 minutes. That's what I wished about this match. That's it. I thought the time between spots or setting up a spot that you're going to come back to later was a little bit too much for me. It didn't have enough action, especially after that junior tag match, which was all action.
It was also my issue with it also is El Desperado was a great wrestler. This could have been a great wrestling match between these two, and instead they did this.
Well, and they've had great matches.
Yep,
Clark and Desperado. They had two great matches before this. So yeah.
Venkin's asking, so you can tell. So can you guys tell when a chair is gimmicked? Yeah, sometimes you can. one thing that I have liked that both New Japan and I've seen it in Stardom also is that they're careful about hitting the guys when they do the chair shots to the head with the cushioned end that pops right out.
The pop out, yeah.
Not actually crashing the metal chair into their head. If you want to see the difference, Venkin, seriously, the Attitude Era WWE, they gave not a crap for anybody's safety, certainly not the wrestlers. And part of the reason why so many of them are no longer with us in a lot of ways, between the drugs, the lifestyle, and the chair shots, good Lord. But Mick Foley has to have his own house programmed into his GPS at all times because sometimes Mick forgets how to go home. That's true. Watch those and see how they hit each other in the head with chairs, and then see how they do it now. You can see what we mean by gimmicked. That the chairs they use now are not the type that will bash your head in the way they used to do it. So
I definitely don't have 45 minutes to go off on Mick Foley and all that stuff that I've been seeing the last couple of days. So
yeah, well, fair enough. Yeah, not a good thing for wrestling's overall health. But there you go. But yeah, anyway, the whole thing is, Desperado. Good news is we're going to get a wrestling match because afterwards lights went out and Templario via video came on and challenged Desperado. So we're going to get a really good wrestling match next time from Despe on
and that's at Dontaku?
Probably
officially announced, but almost certainly
it's not. Yeah, it's not. But that would be one of the two nights at Dontaku. I'd imagine would be that match. Yeah.
That's that makes sense that they would do that then. So there you go. Anyway, but a decent night at Korakuen Hall, and that led right into the matches the next day at Ryugoku Kokugikan. So we just roll into that there. So this one.
Do you want to talk about the Best of the Super Junior block real quick, since we were talking about the junior heavyweights already, or do you want to wait for a little bit later?
Well, we can go ahead and do that since we're on junior heavyweight. That's not a bad idea. We can get out of order a little bit. I like the comic book motif they used for it, by the way. The art on this is pretty cool.
Hitting my aesthetic on this one.
We got a whole pile of Hantai guys, but then there's a whole pile of Hantai these days. So we have from that group, Desperado, of course, the champion. Ryusuke Taguchi's in. Yo is in there. Master Wato is in there. Who also, by the way, Master Wato and Yo challenged Eagles and Fujita for the titles, which got to be pretty funny because Wato basically drug Yo down to the ring, and Yo's very Yo-y in this one, just to kind of playing his weird character, but ready to go after the tag team belts. Wato, that's how he did it with Desperado, right? He just kind of beats you into submission, he kills you with kindness, and then you're his buddy and his partner. After that, we have Kushida and Kevin Knight. So Kevin Knight's still there. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. Even though he's AEW contracted, also New Japan contracted. We'll get to all that. And Ninja Mac is in. It was at least going to give you some good matches and some entertaining acrobatics. From TMDK, Fujita and Eagles, tag team champs, are both in the singles tournament. From the War Dogs, we have Ishimori and Clark Connors. Francesco Akira, the lone representative from United Empire at this point. Sho and Kanemaru are in from House of Torture. And then we have some guests. And we have Mao. We mentioned Mao. He pretty much declared himself in. Dragon Dia is coming back. He was interesting to watch last year. A good young wrestler. A CMLL guy. We don't know which one. We don't know which one yet, but there will be a CMLL guy. So there must be something where they're not totally sure they can get Teton. But either way, there will be a CMLL guy in there. Maybe there's something wrong with his paperwork, and they're like, maybe we might have to send you somebody else. But anyway, there he is. And then Nick Wayne. And in case you're wondering, yes, we have already gotten social media comments about his mother.
Oh, that was funny.
Desperado.
Desperado shooting a shot. You got to respect it.
Is your mother coming, Nick Wayne?
Honorable.
Man's shooting a shot. So,
yeah,
there you go. There's what thoughts on this one, boys? What do you think? I mean, it's a lineup with a lot of chalk, and what I mean is, that there are a lot of the normal guys that you would expect. CMLL, I'm really surprised they didn't just announce Teton, which is my only thought. Is there must be some question as to whether or not
could be Templario. Yeah, that was
could be. Yeah, but it just seems odd that they didn't announce which one. And then Dia coming back wasn't. I'm not disappointed, but I am surprised. I guess was the coming back in there. And then Nick Wayne. That's it'll be interesting to see some of those singles matches with Nick Wayne against these guys.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it was like Soberano or Atlantis Jr. or one of those guys where
Atlantis Jr. I think Soberano might be hurt. I have to look that up.
Right.
Well,
but if just one of those, go ahead.
My first thought was that it they somehow landed Mystico because Mystico went out injured, but that even feels like that would be a disaster. Yeah,
and I don't think one, good luck getting Mystico to lose, and then
right,
and then number two, CMLL doesn't really necessarily want Mystico listed as a junior defined as a junior in that way, right? Because he's
All right, so the top guys, we got the Desperado. There's a lot of tag teams, right? Like you got the Jet Setters, you've got Kosei Fujita and Eagles together. You got Yo and Wato. I think a lot of that is gonna play a big part into, who of the top two guys. I'm assuming two guys are making it into the post round. Chris, is that right?
They have not announced format.
Okay.
Or blocks for that matter, just because.
Yeah, no blocks, no format. Probably won't.
I assume that these were one block and the second block.
No, not official.
No, they're not. They won't be either because you've got Yo and Wato and Kushida and Knight.
See, I thought that was just chaos together. Where they were gonna put these guys against each other and they were just gonna let the world burn. Because you have Kevin Knight on the top level. Why wouldn't he be down with the other guys?
These aren't the blocks necessarily.
These are not the blocks. So we do not have. All we have is the 20-person roster.
The field.
19 of the 20. Yeah, we have the field. We have the dates. But we do not have the finals format, or I guess the knockout format, if there is one. And we don't have the actual blocks. So, I mean, some of the splits are going to be pretty obvious. They're going to split up the Bullet Club guys. They're going to split up the guys in their own tag team. So, like, you could make a if this then that, block structure out of most of this. It is interesting that Teton's not involved here, but maybe they were trying to limit the number of LIJ members because you do have Hiromu and Bushi. And then you've got, you split up the two House of Torture guys, and then you the last four guys you sort of mix up.
Well, yeah, and plus CMLL, by the way, just has been caught with a bit of an injury bug. Some of their real key guys are out. So CMLL might think, we could really use Teton for a little while here. Maybe not gone for a month, that type of thing. There are all these factors involved with this stuff.
Okay. Ultimately, like the roster here though is mostly killer, little bit of filler. So you can't say it's all killer, no filler with guys like Taguchi and Kanemaru in there. Your mileage may vary with show. I love the addition of Nick Wayne here, though. I think he's the perfect AEW wrestler to come in and do the Best of Super Juniors tour. I just think he doesn't have a ton going on storyline wise in AEW right now. He's at a point in his development where it's good for him to come in and have 9 or 10 matches. He's credible, but can lose. When I heard that he was the likely AEW candidate for this, I got really excited, and I think he's a good wrestler. And I think, he'll probably lean on some of his relationships with guys like Will Ospreay about like how to go and do a tour like this too. And hopefully really come out looking good, if not getting some featured time in New Japan. I think he's a great addition. I love that the relationship with Dragon Gate is still steady by bringing in Dragon Dia. I think he's a great wrestler. I hope he can grab a couple wins. Last year he was replacement for Taguchi. So very, very possibly he replaced Taguchi just 1-for-1 in the booking. So hopefully this time there's some thought around his performance and where he's coming from. But he performed well. He's a great wrestler. So, and Mao is a really neat guy to get featured here too. So I'm excited for Best of Super Juniors. I always am. I love the junior division. I think it's one of the most unique things that New Japan does. So I'm super excited for this tournament to get kicked off in the middle of May.
It's a signature thing for New Japan. You mentioned it earlier. There are other companies in Japan with junior heavyweight divisions and junior heavyweight champions, but none are as prestigious as New Japan's, which redefined the entire wrestling industry in the early 80s with Tiger Mask and Dynamite Kid. Then you had Liger, who's one of the supreme workers that ever went down to the ring. And there's been levels of greatness within the New Japan junior heavyweight division that's unmatched. Nobody else can really compare to the history of it when you look at some of the names who've won this tournament or been a part of the junior heavyweight division. So it means more here. And so it is kind of exciting. Desperado, we figure he's going to go far, but not win it. He's the champion. Other than that, fairly wide open field. It's hard.
I was going to ask you guys, do you have a snap judgment final four when you look at the field for each of you?
I would have looked at Robbie Eagles if he weren't the tag team champion.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Fujita too, for that matter.
Yeah.
If you want to really kick off his push, it wouldn't surprise me to see Kevin Knight get a good performance, or a really strongly booked tournament. I think Clark Connors being the sort of junior representative of the War Dogs, I think he is probably primed for a good push, especially as he sort of pivots the gimmick, right? Those are the two that stand out to me.
I wouldn't sleep on
Akira.
Right.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's my other one. I think. Other than that, I think that fourth one's probably a wild card coming. Could come from anywhere. Wato is obviously going to be a player here.
Always bring back Hiromu. You could. I mean,
I know.
It's just one of those like if you.
My hot take is that Hiromu is the most boring star in New Japan Pro Wrestling.
he's
a
caricature
star
of what he was.
He is undoubtedly a star, but I am bored to tears with Hiromu.
Right.
Hiromu is very dependent on him being into what he's doing, because if he's not really into what he's doing, it's a very different Hiromu Takahashi than when he's excited about it.
I want him to.
You can see whether he's in or not.
I want him to do anything that isn't
tendon arrow,
what he's been doing for a decade.
A double clothesline.
Well, we're going to get into that in a minute here, because that's.
And you know what? This lineup's missing. This lineup is missing Dookie. That's what
Doki.
It's missing.
Yeah,
Doki.
Yeah,
it's missing
yeah,
my boy.
Miss
I miss him dearly.
You saw Omega saying Dookie too many times last night.
I guess, yeah. That was something.
I do think.
Never mind.
I do think that the
the less said about AEW TV, the better.
Well, I think the
last
AEW
night
contract for Kevin Knight is probably going to put him in a position to actually get into a Final Four and then lose there. Be very, very protected in the main stuff because of the Tony Khan relationship.
Maybe
Nick Wayne, I wouldn't be surprised if he does something on AEW TV and like jumps Christian and then goes to Japan for like 3 weeks and they like write that in as their
they never write in the Japanese trips.
Chris, I think you're on
write it.
I mean, seriously, the week that Nick is gone, Tony might look around and goes, "Where's Nick?" I said, "He's in Japan." Oh,
all right.
I forgot.
That's entirely
back. Yeah, fly it back. Get it back.
Why isn't he here in Arkansas?
There's at least 1,300 paid. All right, moving on. We have the big show at Ryogoku Kokugi-Con. That was on Saturday, and we had a match, a show up and down. Had some things in there, like I mentioned. They were dropping in setups for other shows and things. It was a busy night. So the pre-show match was Tetsuya Murashima and Daiki Nagai. Murashima gets the win with the Boston Crab. Nagai is starting to bring in other moves. They are starting to expand his repertoire a little bit. Murashima has his power slams looking pretty good, by the way. And Nagai, who's already the best promo in the company, has said that after being in Sumo Hall, it was a real honor for him. And Murashima is so fat that he could picture him as a sumo. That's good stuff.
Nagai. Everything that I've been told is that Nagai has totally gone into business for himself in his promos, and no one is stopping him, so he's going to keep doing it.
I hope he does. I'm so entertained.
It's because it's so good. He's a trip. He's going to be a dude. He's a guy to keep. He's a guy to keep your eyes on.
Yeah. I've said before that this is one thing I am proud of, Chris. I've been on the Fujita train from the beginning. I thought that he just looked great from young Lion days all the way through right there. And the guy's kind of giving off vibes right there. He's still very, very green, and he's not allowed to do very many moves. He's still in that kind of basic young lion thing. The other guys keep getting hurt. Poor Yasuda and Kato are getting hurt a lot. But when between the talking, the attitude, the expressions, and things, they might have something very special with the guy here. So that was the opener. Then we move on to Yuya Uemura and SANADA. Now, this one, as it turns out, was setting up things for later. And so this one only went about 10 minutes. It wasn't the barn burner that you would think, or not that you would think, but that maybe this match originally called for. But SANADA ended up throwing Uemura into Milano Collection AT at ringside for the second show in a row. That kind of stuff is cutesy sometimes, but Evil's been throwing guys into the ring announcer for a long time. I would rather this didn't become an every single show thing. But SANADA ended up using a low blow after a ref bump. Uemura came back, got an arm bar for the tap out. Both of them were on to bigger things later in the show. So this really felt like after the turn and Uemura running in to save people and run off SANADA, this felt very abrupt. Just like, let's just get this match in the ring. We'll do a babyface finish, on to new things. And it's like this is just something they had to deal with so that they could get to other stuff. And that's kind of the way this came off to me.
Well, and it sort of closes the door on the just 5 guys thing, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I guess just 4 guys is still technically a unit. They have not officially folded into Hantai.
Must have a t-shirt that's doing okay.
Well, they got to get rid of the just 4 guys run that they printed when the unit started.
Yeah.
No, I don't know what's going on with that, but either way, I mean, Yuya's my boy. He'll always be my boy. I'll keep calling him my boy. And I still, even after everything else that happened on this show, I'm still not really sure what the hell is going on with SANADA. I mean, think about the fact that a year and a half ago, SANADA was the world champion, headed into the main event of Wrestle Kingdom.
And it's been a far fall.
That seems crazy.
How did he lose confidence in himself? Did other people lose confidence in him? This is just kind of like everybody just kind of said, this is where you are now, and nobody fought it. Like, yeah, okay, cool. This is where I am.
He's been dealing with a nagging injury that as far as the bicep thing, like, to me, that's not a nagging injury. That's an injury that needs to heal.
Mm-hmm.
But
I think that
healing a torn bicep is a long path of mostly just rest. And maybe the man just needs to get paid because he's very fashionable and spends a lot of money on his clothes. Probably. I mean, you saw the boots later.
Oh, the boots. Yeah. Yeah. Look like something out of Mickey Mouse. I've seen those boots. They look like Mickey Mouse's boots.
You look like the biggest Jeff Jarrett fan that there is in Japan.
They either look like Mickey Mouse's boots or Mega Man's boots, or I mean, SANADA. He's got a look. This was absolutely a handsome battle. It wasn't much of a match though, but Yuya won, and that was the right decision, and it led to a lot happening later in the show.
Yes, sir.
Venkin said, I mean, they have the ideal way to write SANADA off. Yeah, I guess that's true. They do. They're about to, aren't they? Actually, now that you mention it, Venkin, you're right. They're about to. And Colin thinks that the House Torture is the best place for him, which is what we'll get to a little bit later. After that, we had Great Okan and El Phantasmo for the television title. So this was a match they had there. Again, it has to be abrupt because 15-minute time limit and all this one. Okan came out with Masami Obari. And if that last name sounds familiar, it's the brother of the former CEO, Takami Obari. He's also an anime director, a character designer. And yes, I did get all that off his Wikipedia. A pretty good match, though. ELP sold the shoulder a lot. Okan worked it fairly well. They fought over a chair on the outside as the referee counted toward a count out. ELP got the chair, but his conscience did not allow him to use it. So Okan ended up giving him a shoulder breaker on the chairs that had been set up earlier. They were Chekhov's chairs from a thing they had built up earlier out there. Ended up being a count out victory. It was a rare count out that didn't feel like a cheap fluke, though. It just felt like he won the match, that Okan won the match over ELP. Too many too many he's in there. But this just felt like a victory. He beat ELP until he couldn't get back in the ring, and it was a count out. So the TV title fits in with Okan's rural revitalization thing because all those matches are free on YouTube and everything else. And he mentioned that a little bit. So with the King of Pro Wrestling title retired, and maybe without all the weird stipulations, this could be part of Okan's thing where he does something in these towns, these smaller towns, to try to bring up the interest and all that. It seems to be Okan's mission here. But either way, it's fine. Phantasmo's got a lot to do. He'll probably have a pretty busy summer. And part of the story of this show is that it was a big night for United Empire, which has been a little bit lost in the woods over the last few months. Just kind of reminding us that these guys are still a force.
This match was fine. The countout didn't do much for me. Great Okan, as much as I feel like they want to build him as, a guy and a force in New Japan, he's constantly got these lower level titles, and it just kind of establishes him as almost a gatekeeper to get up to the upper mid card. Fine. I think ELP is probably due for bigger and better things. Him winning at Wrestle Kingdom was a great moment. It was nice. Probably time for him to take the title off. Him not getting pinned says a lot, but maybe they're going to run it back. Who knows?
And that's a fair point, Jeremy. Really, El Phantasmo winning the title in the Dome was more of a feel-good moment for a guy who was coming back from cancer than I think long-term direction for him anyway. So,
yeah, and I think this is a good slot for Great Okan. I think he's a guy he's got a ton of potential. But I think the 15-minute time limit might be really good for him because some of his stuff gets a little drawn out, right? So I think to have him focus on a sprint. Plus, he's of a younger generation, at least, and that is sort of the idea of the TV title. It was at least as stated by New Japan when it was launched, was that it was for the younger guys. My average age chart says different, but we don't have to talk too
much. The younger age generation is trending upward. He is of that generation, so at least we have that going for us. So they're finally holding true to their promise. Jeremy, your friend Dave reached out to me. He was wondering when the last time New Japan changed a title on a count out, and it was actually not long ago. It wasn't long. It was Show. It was Show when he won the junior heavyweight title from El Desperado last year.
Did it last year, yeah.
And then they did it before that. They did it when Kenta took the strong openweight title off of Hikuleo. Now your mileage may vary on how you treat the strong
when
openweight
Hikuleo
title.
fell off the
when Hikuleo'd. Yeah. Before that though, they hadn't done it since 1989. So they're tapping into the New Japan rule set a little bit more these days. And I don't even think it was to protect ELP. I think it was the story of the match.
Yeah.
And I think that when it's done that way, I think that's really tasteful. I think it's neat. I think it's interesting. They have used it they've used it more. They've used countouts more in the last, 3 or 4 years as story devices, something that actually advances the story, not to protect someone like other wrestling companies do, right? I saw the comment, no other company does this. Okay, cool. That we're operating under New Japan Pro Wrestling rules. No other major company that Americans watch does 20 countouts either. So
only the U.S. does 10. I mean, Mexico and Japan all do 20. Yeah, the rules are different.
The rules are made up and the points don't matter. So do what you like, right? But I like that that titles can change hands on countouts until it becomes a crutch, and that's how I feel about any booking, right? And we've seen companies that use every crutch they can find to make sure that some of their dudes don't take a pin, and they can stretch out a story longer. So at least this, you have some finality to it. But I like the booking direction. I don't know what ELP is where he's gonna pivot to. He's got a match on Windy City Riot here. Maybe we'll see something out of that because he's a guy that's gonna be around. But I like putting Great Okan into this space, especially after the gimmicky KOPW run that honestly was generally well received, even if it was
kind of looked on
it was a little out there.
Whatever.
Yeah, it's a little out there.
Everyone would hear the social media of what match, like, hey, what, a where,
Well, you're never going to get away from the eating contest with the worst wrestler of all time, Tangaloa, and Great Okan. Like, I'd rather watch Tangaloa in an eating contest than wrestling. So at least there was that. But you know,
hey, you got me thinking about something when you were talking about how they were leading into the count out victory for a title change, and doing that a little more often the last couple of years. Do you know by number if they've kind of upped the amount of disqualifications that they've been doing in general?
In general, I would have to say yes. I don't have that.
It feels like they do one every couple of months now, where they only did one a year for a while.
For a long time, there were very, 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 very few. There's still very few by volume, right? By percentage.
But when it still happens, you're like, wow, they did a disqualification. Okay,
they did a DQ in a meaningful match, right? And by meaningful, I probably mean either singles or title match. It's still pretty low.
Yeah.
And oftentimes it's a
prelim match.
And it's been House of Torture, right? We've done a lot of DQs with House of Torture. There was a stretch where a lot of the preview tags between House of Torture and LIJ were ending in DQ, but they were preview tags, right? So if I'm thinking about consequential matches, tournament, singles, championship matches,
almost never.
Still very, very, very few.
Could be a recency bias on my part, you know.
And the ones that you see are almost always restarted immediately. You know, you had Moxley and Great Okan. They had a DQ and then they restarted the match. And then there was I think there was an Evil New Japan Cup match, Evil Suji.
Yeah. Where everybody who ran in ended up being in the next match that started.
Yeah, and they went DQ and then they restarted the match. It was one of those things. So they're more often than not they do it that way in a consequential match because
it's a plot device instead of
it hypes up the crowd. Yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing we've seen a couple of times now that I don't remember seeing for a very, very long time, the double knockout. They've done a couple of double knockouts lately, and that's different. Venkin mentions that I even have talked about this before. They used to overuse certain finishes in the 90s. More the 80s into the early 90s is when it changed. But yeah, they used to, under the guise of protecting guys, do way too many double countouts. Both All Japan and New Japan.
All Japan too, yeah.
Yeah, both of them did. Just double count out. Nobody had, to the point that the crowds were audibly groaning when the guys would fall outside the ring. Or the one that cracked me up the most is it got to the point where when they'd be on the outside and one would throw the other one in, it would get a pop that the audience was like, oh, wow, not a double count until they fell out again. But so they overused that. And then they went the total other direction in the early 90s where both companies just dropped anything but clean finishes for years. That's all they did were clean finishes, and they went the other way with it. But
they got into shoot style and all that too. I mean, and that was all. It was all sort of related. Yeah. So
anyway, but they are throwing some other things in, and again, it gets to be like wrestling angles. Like, have wrestling angles been done to death? Well, the bad ones have, and the good ones haven't. So that if you have all these finishes in as possibilities, you can sell the idea of a count out. All of a sudden, those close counts on the outside, if someone actually gets counted out every once in a while, it adds to that drama. That now at 18, 19, they're getting in at 19, but now there's a little seated out because they don't always get in at 19. That's healthy to do every once in a while. And it can throw a little bit of a wild card in. So I don't mind it a bit as long as they don't overuse it. So
I'm going to bet, and this is sort of an offshoot, but I'm going to bet we don't see another double knockout until Hanari's back.
It does seem to be his finish, doesn't it?
It's sort of his thing.
It is. I hope he's doing okay, boy. That man,
he'll be out for a while, but
I know they're not talking about 2025 at all with him.
No,
I heard in 2026. Just totally demolished his knee in that match. All right. After that, we had another singles match. This was Shota Umino and Hiroshi Tanahashi. So, Tanahashi's knees weren't good here, but Shota was smart enough to work them, which was actually smart. Work the knees, and that way you know why he's barely moving out there. There was a cool sequence with some half Nelson suplexes. It only went 12 minutes and 47 seconds. They kind of kept it quick. High Fly Flow missed, had some good near falls. Shota hit the second chapter to win. Everyone was kind of waiting to see how Shota would behave. And after this, he said to Tanahashi on the microphone, he bowed to Tanahashi and said, Hantai is the only home for him. And there were some Shota Umino chants, but a lot of the crowd still seems very uneasy with him. And the company very intentionally set him up to get booed later as well. So, yes, right now, Shota Umino is leaning hard into the I am Hantai all the way, but it still makes you wonder.
A lot of emotional beats in this match, a little bit of tears and frustration from Shota about, how he perceived what Tanahashi position he had been put in. A little bit of meta going on in this match. And we thought that was going to be the case. And, as a result of this match, we got Fallout in the main event and for Windy City, and we're going to unfurl all of that. But for this match, I think it did what it needed to do, and we need to be prepared that the Shota Umino story is going to take a while. And I know Chris and I had talked privately about Shota Umino in general, and then the general is he the guy kind of aspect, and it's really hard to say right now. It's really hard to say. Chris, I'm just going to give you the floor to let you talk your thoughts, and we're going to go from there.
About Shota Umino?
About this match, about Shota, about whatever you
like. Sure. The match was whatever. The match was better than I expected it to be, but I have a very low bar for Shota Umino. I'm looking at a picture of Shota Umino that was probably taken a year and a half ago. The man just won't show up for photo day. He's had a dozen different looks since this one that they're still using as his photo for all the match graphics. They did the same thing all throughout last year's G1. He was using an old photo. He's bald now. It's sort of part of the story. So I don't know what they're waiting for with Shota, but I also don't know what they're pressing on with Shota, because they keep putting him into these situations. And I don't have a read on what story they're trying to tell with him. Are they trying to tell the story are they trying to quickly make him into the next Naito, where he keeps getting in these situations and they're trying to get people to want him to win just because he's always in the spot? Or are they Roman Reignsing him and forcing him into the brains of their fan base that he's a guy that deserves to be where he is? Because by the booking, he doesn't. He lost all last year. He had a terrible G1. He, by the booking, right? I'm not even talking about the in-ring, right? He wasn't booked in any main events in the G1. He won a small handful of matches. He didn't even make it into the knockout rounds. Like the booking of Shota Umino is the most, I can usually make, maybe I can usually make sense. And this came up in a different Discord, and someone was like, someone mentioned me and said like, well, yeah, Chris can tie it all together via stats, wins, loss, ring time, main events, like you name it, add it all up. I can tell you who the next main eventer is going to be in New Japan. It's the guys that get the screen time, and it's guys that get screen time in singles matches. Shota Umino's not that. He's just a guy that they keep dropping into these situations. And he is dead behind the eyes. And that is the most serious thing that I can say about a pro wrestler. It's in the eyes. It's when you're watching pro wrestling, compare Gabe Kidd's eyes to Shota Umino's eyes in an entrance, during a match, in a post match, like you name it. Like Shota Umino has no fire at all. And I'm going to be in the building tomorrow night for Windy City Riot for him to, have what I'm adding up is another tryout match to get the approval of this generation, the golden generation, as you could probably call them, Tanahashi, Goto, Nagata, all those guys. And they want him to succeed, partially because of who his dad is and their relationship. And they keep trying to put him into positions where he can show some fire and and succeed. And he has failed every single big moment that he's had. He has failed. And I just cannot fathom why this man is still in these positions after that dud of a Wrestle Kingdom main event. He's fetch. They're trying to make Shota Umino a thing. Stop trying to make fetch a thing. It's in Mean Girls. It was 20 years ago, and Shota Umino is still that. And he's not a thing. And I am so down on him, and I'm so mad that that's the match that's happening tomorrow night, even though it's probably going to be a fine match, and the crowd's going to be hot for Goto. But I think New Japan thinks he's more over than he is in the US. And I just don't think that's going to end up being the case tomorrow night.
Yeah, I hope they're not thinking too far back to when he was Moxley's little buddy, and there was an affection.
They're exactly thinking about that.
Yeah, I wonder, and that's a mistake, because certainly Moxley's not what he was.
Not trained
during that time.
That ship has sailed. We
have
all moved on from that vibe of Shota.
I'm almost okay. They have to know. They had to know that he was going to get booed the second he gets in there with Goto. Everyone gets booed when they're in there with Goto. I mean, everyone loves Goto. So the fact that they even put Umino in there, the company knows he's going to get the hell booed out of him in this thing. I'm hoping that it's part of the story that he just finally snaps at some point. And maybe the only thing he can do, you're talking about the Roman Reigns thing, the only thing that made Roman Reigns the star he needed to be was to go heel. Because shoving him down everybody's throat. And I think that's got to be the ultimate destination for Umino, because if he gets over as a heel, that pendulum can one day swing back the other direction. I know Tanahashi was never really a heel. There have been times when the crowd was more on the side of his opponent than him, but he's never really been a heel in New Japan. Trying to make him like a next Tanahashi or something, but he almost has to do that Naito thing where you make the crowd hate him for a while before they love him. Perhaps that's where they're headed. They have to know that they're not going to get behind him against Hirooki Goto. They have to know that.
If they do a heel turn with Shota Umino, it's got to be in some way, shape, or form a rejection of the ways of New Japan. That is his whole direction, because of the whole, like, he came in surrounded by the whole New Japan vibe, and he was supposed to succeed within the New Japan system in the New Japan ways, and none of that has worked. So if you put him in a position where he rejects all of that, and all of a sudden it starts working, that's the Wrestle Kingdom match, is him versus like the avatar of all things New Japan.
The question is,
that might be Hirooki Goto again.
Could be. I think it could be Goto and Tanahashi one last time at the Tokyo Dome this year. If anything would make me happy.
Yeah, I don't see it.
That's not a rabbit hole we have time for.
Nope, it is not.
I'll be back. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we got time.
All right. After that, we did have the never open weight 6-man tag titles, House of Torture and Bullet Club War Dogs. So this was all to set up another match later again. Even though this was a title match, this was not by any means the end of anything. The War Dogs had a hot start, but including there were double moonsaults from Ishimori and Kid. Maloney then threw a razor's edge guy over the top rope to the floor. But we got the ref bump. We got the shenanigans. Clark Connors and SANADA came out. SANADA had his guitar. He gets into the ring to the surprise of literally nobody except the guy he hit.
Nobody.
he ends up clobbering Drilla Maloney with the guitar. Now, going back to what Chris said earlier, I got to tell the story. You talk about the gimmick guitars that Jeff Jarrett has had over the years. When the Honky Tonk Man, I'm going way back, smashed a guitar over Jake Roberts' head on the Snake Pit, which was Jake Roberts' talk show back in the day in the WWE. It was a Gibson guitar that probably cost a ton of money, and they didn't gimmick it at all. And Jake is 2 inches shorter today than he was when Honky Tonk Man smoked him in the head with a guitar. There's a reason they gimmick these things, guys. There's a reason. Those things are sturdier than you think.
I have a dozen guitars on my wall behind me. I don't want one of them over my head. These things, they're heavy. Yeah. They're unwieldy. If they're properly put together, they have strings on them that cut you. Like, I know nobody brings the strung guitar out at a wrestling show, but like, even my cheapest guitar with, laminate wood, like that's still going to that's worse than a chair shot.
Yes, in a lot of ways. Yeah. It's not. It's not a good move.
It didn't look pretty.
No, and that's the worst part about it is too. When it's not gimmicked, it doesn't even look that good. I mean, the visual of a gimmicked one is much better. I mean, and much less dangerous. So
you also like
put a little bit of powder in it so that when it's poofs, come on, people, we got.
There's no explosion. It's just, if anything, it's just going to crack.
It's just a thud.
Seems bad. It's not what I want.
Exactly what you thought a House of Torture party match would be.
Sure.
Yeah. So this more led up to the post-match interview with Finlay. So we're going to leave this here for now. The House of Torture held on to the tag team titles. Not the point, but Maloney, Kid, Ishimori.
No, they won the tag team titles.
The never open.
No, House of Torture were the defending champs on this, weren't they?
Yeah, they came in.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, they retained. They retained.
Yeah, and they retained.
I know the trios titles bounce around a lot, but this was a retention. And then
we're going to get this right
for a while.
Everyone's pissed as all hell at House of Torture, and we'll leave it there until we get to something a little bit later on in the show. But SANADA has now turned. Once again, like I said, he quit Bullet Club and joined Bullet Club. Now, after that, we have Konosuke Takeshita and Ryohei Oiwa. Now, Now things are starting to pick up a little bit in terms of action. Of course, we've been big fans of Takeshita here on this show for quite a while. He is basically the perfect type of New Japan wrestler, as far as I'm concerned, exactly kind of what the company needs. And to me, this was very, very good. They'd never wrestled one another, not even in tag team matches before, but their chemistry was excellent. I thought it was interesting when Oiwa put the arc clutch, his little armbar, on Takeshita. Not his little armbar, it's a big armbar. Takeshita's legs and arms are so long. Is there any part of the ring he can be in where he can't reach the ropes? There might be a tactical error to try a submission hold on Takeshita. I actually stood very close to Takeshita. He was staying in the same hotel as I was when I was over there for Kingdom and Dynasty. And it just, he's big. Or he's tall, but his arms and legs are impossibly long. It's just like his limbs are just. It's just kind of stunning to watch the guy walk down the street in Japan, where most people aren't particularly big. But it wasn't long, but it was beautiful. It was only 12 minutes 54 seconds. I loved it, and Takeshita ended up winning. Oiwa missed the grip. There were two huge forearms, and then he landed Raging Fire to win. Just a terrific match, and the first guy to get to V5 as the never openweight champion. Some of those are some title defenses on AEW TV that weren't going to go anywhere, but nevertheless, it's still technically true. He has the most defenses of any never openweight champion. And then afterwards, of course, we've got challenges galore. But Oiwa, I thought, did a real good job right here, and Takeshita's just excellent. He's on to Tanahashi tomorrow night. So Takeshita Tanahashi tomorrow, which is a flashback to a match they had a very long time ago when Takeshita was basically a rookie, more or less. And Tanahashi, apparently, I didn't see this match, but apparently Tanahashi ate his lunch and told him they didn't belong in the same ring with him for the most part. Neither did his promotion. So a little bit of heat there that they added in for storyline purposes. At the time, Tanahashi was right on both counts. Moving on. So
I wanted to point out one thing real quick. The only time that he has defended the never openweight title outside of New Japan was actually at CMLL against Angel Del Oro.
Really? There haven't been any TV? All of those were the international title that he held?
It was.
Okay, yeah. All right. I stand corrected then. I thought he had a couple of BS ones on those TVs. Okay.
No, they usually leave that for the AEW title.
Okay, fair enough. All right, I stand corrected.
I don't know. Powerhouse Hobbs is in the lineage of the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship.
No, I meant this last little run. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. I meant the Takeshita run where he's holding two titles.
It's incredible that the never openweight championship, for as much as it gets defended, has never been. No one's ever gotten to V5. It's a long-standing title, and there have been some great reigns, but a lot of those reigns are chopped up with other great reigns somewhere in the middle of them.
Like they'll lose the title and then get it back, and then
a quick bounce back. But
Shingo and Hanare is one. Ishii with Makabe a couple of times in there, probably. If I'm right.
I didn't expect it, but I really wanted them to get the title onto Oiwa and off of Takeshita, because I desperately want Takeshita to do big things in New Japan. I know that now is likely not the time for that, and that at this, given Takeshita's current situation in AEW,
contractual obligations,
and just kind of where he's at, like, I just didn't think he was going to be losing to a guy like Oiwa that Tony Khan's probably never heard of. Unfortunately, because Oiwa is one of the best wrestlers out there right now, best young wrestlers out there right now.
Tony hasn't watched New Japan since 2018, so
I mean, he proves that. You know, he proves it. That's all I'll say. He proves it. He will continue to.
Yeah, I have a story about that I'll tell you guys off air.
Excellent.
All right. Well, yeah, but right now we're on the. I was thinking about this with Takeshita. It's like he's in the New Japan National Guard. We get him one weekend a month and for a couple of weeks in the summer. And that's really what Takeshita's plan is right now. The rest of the time he's over in AEW. So it's a little bit like that.
We're getting I'm hoping G1.
That was the weeks in the summer. That's, my father used to be in the National Guard. He'd go away for a weekend every one a month, and then he'd have 2 weeks in the summer. That's what Takeshi's doing.
I have heard otherwise. Just putting that out there. I don't know how eminent that is, but I have heard otherwise. I've heard that we will see quite a bit of Takeshita in the not as distant future as you would think.
Oh, that would be wonderful. I mean, he's, because when I saw him, and this is, I guess, is the point I was trying to make earlier. When these two lined up, right? You get them in the ring. They've done their introductions, but there's that little moment before the match starts when the guys are in their corners. They got their gear off. They're staring each other down. There is a buzz in the crowd with the Konosuke Takeshita in the ring right there. We're about to watch a Takeshita match. There's a little bit of a buzz there with the crowd right there. You don't get that with everybody. And you're like Okada had that when there was a singles match. You're like, oh, this is now, everybody, there would be a different energy in the room. And Takeshita has that energy with the New Japan crowd, especially at a place with 6,000 people at Sumo Hall. There's that, we mentioned, Jeremy, the Gabe Kidd thing, right? Where when Gabe Kidd's image comes up on the video screen that his match is next, there's a woo in the crowd. With Takeshita, there's almost that sense of anticipation when he's standing there and you're waiting for the referee to ring the bell. That's an intangible that not everybody gets to, and he has it. And it's something New Japan really desperately needs, that buzz that something special in ring is about to happen. And that is not something you can just grow on trees, obviously, because they've been, we're seeing that with this generation. Who has it? Who doesn't? Takeshi's got it right now.
Yes. Takeshi is very, very special. We talk about it all the time. This guy is the future. The future is now. Ryohei Oiwa, he's also incredibly special. As Chris Samsa had mentioned, if he had won the title here, would have been awesome, but he's not big enough for Takeshita to lose to him. Takeshi is protected by everyone, everywhere. He is the best, and he should be.
All right. Up next,
I need to step away for a second, but I'm going to let you guys talk about this next one, and I will be back shortly.
All right, no problem. Chris and I can handle this one. So we have the IWGP Tag Team titles next. This one puzzled me, frankly. But Jeff Cobb, Callum Newman against Naito and Hiromu. Now, I understand that Naito and Hiromu aren't physically what they used to be. Hiromu might be a matter of interest. Naito, it's a matter of physicality for sure. We've talked about this. This is the perfect use of Naito, who is a star. There's no question he's a star. He's, sells a lot of merchandise. He gets by far the biggest response of anybody on the card. I was shocked at how much bigger he was than second place when I was in Tokyo. So I thought protecting him in a tag team was the perfect way to do it. Instead, they dropped the titles here to United Empire. No disrespect toward Newman and Cobb, who are both terrific workers. Newman, part of his thing has been he's been antagonized by Naito for his career in New Japan. He finally gets the pin on Naito right here. I guess we might have to look at a reality, Chris, where Naito is, instead of being in a title match or leading up to a big grudge match or having the big singles match, he's the guy in the preview trios getting ready for a Shingo or Tsuji match at the next big card. Just one of the guys in the trios match now, which is a new reality for him. Because even after he had a broke down physically, remember, he's still in the world title picture last year. He was still a big part of everything they did in the fall, and even the build up to Hiromu was treated with importance for New Japan. He's not going to be in the world title picture. I don't see him in the global or the never title picture. I mean, is Naito a guy in trios matches now as they've lost these tag team belts? It seemed like a way to keep him in at least a semi-prominent position, but now it's Cobb and Newman as the tag champs.
Yeah, and I do have to wonder if they took the heavyweight tag team titles off of Naito and Hiromu, because Hiromu was going to be in Best of the Super Juniors.
Yes.
Right? Like, it's just this weird thing that they had to clean up before they announced the Best of the Super Juniors, or before they went into Best of the Super Junior season, at least.
Yeah, maybe so.
I liked this idea. I've always liked the idea of the aging veteran star, capital S star, right? They did it with Tanahashi and Ibushi in God, what was that, 2020, 2021 probably? And I was like, okay, brilliant use of these guys. And it's always the shortest little tag team title win. And that's exactly what happened here. And I thought this was going to prime Hiromu up for a heavyweight push and or a G1. And I thought they were going to hold the tag titles. He was going to prove himself. He's going to pin some heavyweights. And then it was going to roll into, all right, Hiromu's in the G1. Instead, they take the titles off of Hiromu and Naito pretty abruptly, very abruptly, and put them on to Newman and Cobb. And I actually think the most interesting booking decision in this is that Callum Newman finally pinned Tetsuya Naito, but it was a tag match. And they've got this thing going where they keep interacting in singles matches. And that felt like one of those situations. I thought Newman was going to beat Naito at the beginning of the New Japan Cup, which is not what happened. So, and I thought, they were going to do a internal struggle United Empire thing through that quadrant of the bracket. But I thought, okay, Newman and Naito, they've had these singles interactions. They got booked with each other a couple times. And, now is time for Newman to get that win. And you always think that those sort of linear progressions in matches are going to be all in the singles matches. And they sort of wasted the Newman pin on Naito in the tag match. And maybe that's because of where Newman is sort of slotted now, right? He's I don't know that he's going to be a featured act right now. But he's someone that they see some progress with. But they wanted to put a bow on this Naito Newman thing, maybe for a little while at least. So I found that to be interesting. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. And they do seem to have promoted Callum Newman at least to the spot where Jacob Austin Young is the guy that takes the pins for United Empire now, and we're seeing Newman get beat a lot less, not never, but less than we used to. He used to be the guy that took those falls. So they've got something in mind for him. But yeah, again, I'm just a little puzzled. Like, what is Naito's job now in this?
Yeah,
in this
what programs do you put him in for Tentaku and Dominion before the G1? Because he can't be emphasized that heavily. Like, you're not going to put him in a TV title match with like Great O'Connor or anything like that. And then all of a sudden, the pickings are pretty slim as to like who's feuding with who and where he's at.
Well, I don't think he's going to be much of a part of the Super Junior tour anyway.
No, but he's still a Tentaku show, and they're still a Dominion show.
And well, you're right. And then they also, I mean, he's going to be teaming with Bushi tomorrow. So it's interesting to me too. I noticed that they made a point in the post-match comments of saying this tag team isn't done yet. So it's possible they'll go back to this after Super Juniors. That is
that's a World Tag League favorite again. Honestly, like they run it back with those two.
And Tanahashi has to wrestle someone on Dominion and or Dontaku.
That's a good pull.
So at some point they're gonna tap the Naito match.
Naito and Tanahashi one last time at Dominion
makes all the sense in the world to me. And honestly, if they both turn it up, it'd probably be really great.
And he doesn't actually have to wrestle on Dontaku. Like, he doesn't have to.
I mean, he could be in a tag thing.
Shingo wasn't on the last card.
I think it's scheduled to be a 2-night show. It's hard to do that without Naito. Hard to do that without Naito at all. Yeah, one night, yes. 2 would be a stretch, I think.
You could have Shingo and Naito try for the tag titles together.
I mean, that's the team, if you ask me.
Because Shingo's got nothing going on. He's been, I don't want to say de-emphasized, but he sure feels like he's not the most important guy in LIJ by far.
Shingo's had nothing going on for like 2 years. And no one noticed because his
he
matches are still really good.
He just wins the Never title, and then they take it off of him, and they can repeat.
And his matches are still really good, but he doesn't really have anything going on.
No, it's true. Has he? This is what I was thinking. Aside from the Hanare thing, where it was just who's the biggest, who's the BMF, right? I mean, has he even really had a feud in 4 years like Shingo and like
Tamatanga, I guess, but that was the same.
Yeah, it's the BMF thing. It's just bowing up. But no one's really done anything to upset Shingo to where Shingo wants revenge. It's just like bowing up on each other, you know.
Yes, that is sort of that. I think that's just what we've got with Shingo right now. But he can lean on match quality all he wants. That's fine.
Sure.
It's fine with most.
He's one of the best in the world at that. Global title was up next, and another story match here. So Tsuji and Evil. Well, again, House of Torture, and so there's all these shenanigans, including Yota Tsuji's identical twin brother being brought out as a decoy, taking one for the team. We did find out, I did not know he was into stunt work. That was the thing. Chris Charlton mentioned that Tsuji's brother does stunt work. So at least when he gets knocked around by, after a while, I'll be just like, Yoda, are you sure? Do I have to get my ass kicked? I mean, like, can we do something else? Maybe not the one where I just get the shit kicked out of me by these guys. But no, he did. I have a feeling he enjoys doing these things. So they brought the twin brother out, and then Yota Tsuji came out and attacked while they were beating up the twin brother. They got the gear off him and said, "Wait a minute, that's not him." And then the real one appears. Evil took most of the early part of this one. It got a little slow paced at times. It went 21 minutes 24 seconds. Didn't need to. Kanemaru eventually came out with the brother again when Tsuji had the advantage, and so that distracted Tsuji. Then we got the ref bump, House of Torture stuff. Shingo Takagi came out to help to mix success. He took a low blow in there. A lot of low blows in this one. The near falls were going strong at the 20-minute mark. Kanemaru, even less effective than usual. Both the salt and the whiskey ended up going into Evil's face instead of Tsuji's. Tsuji then hit the Marlowe crash, and Gene Blast finished it. Crowd got into it late, but for a while there, they were just kind of sitting there waiting. With House of Torture, nothing's going to happen until the ref bump. You just know. So you're kind of sitting there waiting for that to happen. It could have happened probably 5 or 7 minutes quicker in this one. Anyway, afterwards, Evil's got other things to do. His real feud is with the War Dogs. Tsuji then, I did think it was funny. Like, he grabs the microphone and begins to call out Yuya Uemura, who is already standing behind him. So both of these dudes are on the same page, is that they need to pick up where they left off with the injury match from G1. So they will face one another as these two have become intricately tied together, their careers. So it'll be Uemura and Tsuji. Nothing wrong with that. I think Tsuji's terrific. I think he's a real star. I think Uemura is a real star. So I won't complain about seeing these two in the ring with each other soon.
We got right finish, right? But there's not much for me to say about this match. It was a House of Torture match. We're running a little long, so I'm going to give Samsa the floor to say the rest of it, but it was fine.
We're running along with Chris here? That never happened.
Hey, never. It's my fault. I know it. It's fine.
No, we just enjoy this.
I own it.
We just enjoy doing this.
Same deal. Not much left to say about the match. Love the direction after match, though. I mean, it's the opposite for me. I don't mind the House of Torture stuff, but I know what it is. Like I've accepted it. I actually think a lot of it's very funny. I think what got missed is that Evil and Dick Togo were on this tour. Were wrestling totally straight on everything that was not televised. I had a friend who went to one of the non-televised house shows, and they were like, "Yeah, it was hilarious because Togo would grab like an arm bar, and the crowd erupted, like he had hit a finish, and like so the crowd was totally in on the bit, very house show style, right? Like old school, and like you don't hear many reports from non-televised New Japan shows, especially in English speakers. So it was fun to hear that type of stuff happens. I would have loved for that to make it at least to Ryogoku and then go back to the normal stuff. But I mean, when my friend told me that the crowd was totally in on it, and they were doing like, I mean, just literally doing rest holds and getting like the hugest pop of the night. Like the crowd likes the comedy element of the House of Torture stuff. I think everyone loves it in the 4th match and not in the 7th match. I think they love it in a tag match and not in a singles, right? And that's okay. It's okay to have those qualifiers. So with that said, at least Tsuji outsmarted sort of the House of Torture. But I love going back to Tsuji Uemura. I also think that that's a great way to get the title off of Tsuji so that he can go and win the G1.
Hey,
could very well be, and he's going to be a big contender. And you make a good point there, Chris, too, that there are certain gimmicks that play well at house shows, and that's true throughout wrestling. There's stuff that when you see it on a pay-per-view, time and place, right? Where if you're there, it's something interactive, something where wrestling is one of the very few times when the audience can actually influence what goes on stage. Like you get shouted down at a play or a musical, you're not supposed to do it. And the play and the musical is supposed to go on with that. But in wrestling, concerts to a certain extent, I suppose. But with wrestling, you make noise, they react to you making noise, and it's all this little interplay. When you're not on TV, when you're doing a Ryogoku show or you're at Wrestle Kingdom or something like that, all right, this is serious. We got to do our stuff now. But at a small show with a few hundred people, and it works. It's fun to go back and forth with these guys. And so that might be something where House of Torture really excels. And that's not anything to be laughed at, again, to a company that depends on ticket sales. So maybe it has its place, I guess.
House of Torture is underrated comedy, though. I mean, they are Boris and Natasha from Rocky and Bullwinkle. If you take the emotion of saying, I want my New Japan, right? And you take that out of it and you just watch it in a vacuum and say, this is supposed to be funny. It's funny. The facials are just like so outrageous. They're more outrageous than the NXT pin face. I mean, like kick out face. like it's so funny. And if you watch it with that in mind, it's cool. But again, on the 7th match in a building like Ryogoku with a wrestler like Yota Tsuji on the other side, it's not what I'm looking for, but I've accepted it 5 years later. I accepted it 2 or 3, 4 years ago. Before most, I'll say I accepted House of Torture first. I mean, ultimately, Evil might be the funniest wrestler in wrestling.
Yeah, he's up there. And another thing, Kanemaru probably slips on a banana peel better than almost anybody else.
Yes.
Like,
I mean, he's a pro.
Yeah. He is.
He's as pro as it gets. And I he's another dude. I wish he wasn't in House of Torture because he can go. I mean, Kanemaru missing both of his opportunities. I mean, that's funny. It was
entertaining. It was entertaining.
Yeah. It was better than most House of Torture matches because at least Tsuji had some sort of plan too, right? He wasn't he's gonna wrestle clean. He
doesn't look like he doesn't look like a moron. That's important too. And that's really actually underrated important that it's somebody that the crowd trusts won't just blunder into something like an idiot. Right. Anyway, after that we had good things to come because not only did you come out of that match like that, we came out with the direction that everybody's pretty excited about, which is Uemura versus Tsuji. So good news there. After that, we had the World Heavyweight title match, Hirooki Goto and David Finlay. So this one went 24-21. It was outstanding. I'm not going to do a good job here just verbally trying to get the emotion over here, but lots of course, with Finlay matches, there's a lot of him hitting moves and his opponent selling and Finlay kind of working the crowd, strutting around the ring. Finlay does this actually very well. When he's a heel, it really works. Because it makes a lot of sense. If Finlay's dominating, the guy's just barely holding on. Finlay is good at this stuff. Again, another guy who is now it's starting to be part of his character that he's deceptively strong. I think it took a while for a lot of people. We talked about it here, but it took a while for the fans to catch on to it that this guy's actually a powerhouse, even though he just doesn't have the ripped physique, but he can throw people around. And he was kind of doing that a little bit to Goto too. Goto's kids were at ringside. So that kind of telegraphed things a little bit. But Goto hit a DVD through a table off the apron, 15-minute mark. That looked really good. Big moves at 20 minutes. Let's go back and watch this. It was really well worked. he hit my favorite move in the world, the Shoten Kai. He doesn't do it all the time. He's been doing it more as a champion. God, I love that move. It looks so great.
Good.
Such a great move.
How does he not just gone back to that as the finish?
I know.
So good. I mean, I know
It's
the three
fantastic.
GTRs and all that. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But,
It's hard. It's hard to do that to everybody on the roster and things, but my God, that's a good looking move.
So good.
And this move, it just built very, very well all the way to the end. And I think what ended up being 3 GTRs to win it fully.
Yeah.
We mentioned
one
it
for
earlier.
Him, one for his daughter, and one for his son.
There you have it, folks. And you could have put the title on Finlay here and sent him into the you could have sent him into the House of Torture feud with the world title hanging in the balance. Is Evil going to take the world title again? You could have, absolutely could have, and it probably would have worked. Again, Goto has the hot hand right now. The fans love him. Ticket sales are pretty good whenever he's on top. You can't blame New Japan for staying with the hot hand. And I mean, they won. It was a feel-good moment. He gave the talk to, never give up, always persevere, to his children at ringside. Samurai dad, man, who doesn't love this guy? And afterwards, he called out Shota Umino, who came out, and the crowd hated Umino, although they were chanting his name earlier. Those people were pretty quiet when it came time to see him square off with Goto. They will face each other tomorrow in Chicago. And Finlay, afterwards, backstage comments, challenged the House of Torture to another, a dog pound cage match. We're going to do that again, apparently, but this time with House of Torture instead of United Empire. But another feel-good moment. Right now, they're just riding that feel-good wave, and it's working. You see Goto there with the streamers, and everything feels a little bit more right with the world. Just it's nice. I love that this is working out so well for both New Japan and Hirooki Goto.
Chris.
Yeah. David Finlay's right up there with the best in the world. I mean, he is.
I've been saying it to him.
His psychology is off the charts.
Yeah.
I mean, from the Umino match to the Goto match, I mean, he is so good at the intangibles of professional wrestling. Bell to bell, he's not Will Ospreay, right? Like, he's just not, and he's not even, and he doesn't have the intensity of Gabe Kidd, but he's got all of the good things that Triple H did in his peak. The cerebral
and much better
assassin thing,
yeah.
and he's a significantly better wrestler, right?
Yeah.
But he's got the mind games down. I mean, when he deadpanned Shota Umino before the New Japan Cup and called him a nepo baby, like, no, everyone missed it except I guess me and a couple others, right? Like,
oh no, we were talking about it on here.
Okay, yeah. I mean, like, the people who are really in tune, I'm sure caught it, right? But like, remember where he came from, right?
Yeah.
But he didn't wink at the camera and say like, like, he didn't explain the joke. He just let it linger. And that's what David Finlay does in the ring too. He gives things time and space, and putting him in there with Goto, this surprise champion, right? Who knew that this is the run that we were going to get from Goto? But the cool thing about Goto, the best thing about Hirooki Goto as the champion, is that every match he goes into, including tomorrow, you think he can lose.
Yeah.
And that's the best thing about a babyface champion, is to think he could lose this one. Not I want him to lose, but he could lose. And he could have lost this match. He could have lost the Tanahashi match. Nagata that would have been a stretch.
Yeah.
But we're in this cycle now, and he could lose tomorrow, right? But where every match comes with, you hold your breath for that finish, and until it actually hits 3 on the mat, you're like, oh, he's gonna lose. Finlay had a good control period towards the end of this match where I was like, oh no, they're doing the Finlay thing. And like, I don't mind David Finlay. Clearly, I just praised him heavily, but like, I was like, no, it's not time. Like, I'm not ready for it. And Goto pulls it out again, and it was tremendous. I still don't rule out the David Finlay taking the title off of Goto at some point. Maybe it's, I mean, they could finally do a title switch between the G1 and the Dome. based on a G1 win or loss or whatever, right? Like there's a lot of options to get there. I think Finlay had enough going on with the House of Torture War Dogs split. And Goto's hot, right? So, but I think he's hot because no one wants to miss their only chance to see a Goto title defense.
That's a very good point.
Part of why I'm going to get in the building tomorrow night, right? Like,
yeah. The other thing about Goto that I love too is that he'll hit that first GTR. Now it's starting to be a thing where he hits 2 of them or more of them to finish it, right? And in New Japan, in the big title matches, people kick out of finishers. You kind of almost expect it the first time, and so that even puts Goto in jeopardy. He hits the GTR, and then he says, "Nope, I need one more." And you go, "Oh, you might get countered." No,
it's like, no, don't do it. Just pin him.
Oh, yeah, just do it. That happened with Zach, where I just thought, "Oh no, he's gonna." And then when he hit the second one, there's that joy that pops up in the crowd when he hits the second one. He's not going to kick out of 2. And so there's this whole thing like, like the Zach thing. You could feel the crowd in Osaka go, "Oh my God, he's going to win." And then you got that beautiful 1, 2, 3 right there. Kind of happened when he hit the second one. And then when he hit the third one, you're just like, oh, well, here we go. I mean, it's just happy. It all works psychologically. It's a very good point. Yeah.
So there's a lot about this match that I truly loved. And we're going to start with David Finlay. David Finlay, who got knocked over and over and over again that he's not Jay White, that he's not Kenny Omega, that he's not Bullet Club leader material.
Yeah.
If he's not what he is in this match, Goto isn't what he is in this match, right?
Yeah.
Like, this match legitimized Goto's title reign because up to this point, he was having title matches with Hiroshi Tanahashi and Yuji Nagata. And you and I came into this show going, it's like 50-50. I'm leaning like 60-40 that Goto's winning this match just because like you were feeling like you wanted Goto to win this thing. Like there was no logic that said Goto was 1,000% winning this match, especially given the trajectory of David Finlay over the last 2 years. The fact that he won the New Japan Cup, that Goto was never supposed to be the guy that he had right now. And it was all just this formula of like, I want my guy to win. I want the baby face to win. I want the whole deal. And Finlay is very well possibly on a way to being a babyface as well. And this was maximizing that heelness of like, he is the top heel. He is challenging for the title. He lost. And he walked out of there. He didn't just lose. He got his ass handed to him, strong style-wise, at the very end of that match. Goto was getting him. He hit a gun stun, and that was it for him. He tried to hit his overkill like twice after that. No, Goto took him out. He did the GTR. It was as definitive an ass kicking at the very end of that match that you're going to see in a title match. And he did it to David Finlay. There was like this gratification thing that he got the revenge for that global title match where Finlay just talked all that shit, humiliated him in front of his kids, put him in his place. And now we're back to this thing where Goto's the guy. He got there. He got the title. He got his revenge. He got his gratification. He defended the honor of his family, and he beat the biggest, baddest guy on the block to do so. We have a world champion, and yes, there are weaknesses and gaps to his game that make him vulnerable. But man, I am here for a run where Goto is a strong world champion, and they cemented it so hard that I was shocked about how like they're not taking the belt off this guy for a while. That's what I took. Like, you don't beat David Finlay that badly at the end of the match and then take the belt off of him like immediately after. It just would make no sense to me.
Well, yeah, and so Goto moves on to well,
I
yeah.
hear you, but I'm saying it makes no sense to me. Like, you have legitimized Goto to a completely like new level than he was even before Wrestle Kingdom when he won the Rambo. Like we all like Goto. We thought he was good. I've talked about it before. He's the guy that never left. He's that old guard. He's the guy that hasn't entertained going to AEW. He doesn't go to AEW shows and is the star of the Forbidden Door. He has been through and through New Japan all this time, and he is getting rewarded for that loyalty. That's good. I got it.
Okay. All right. So, yeah. And so the other thing is afterwards, David Finlay was borderline gracious toward Goto, but more on mind of SANADA. SANADA was on his mind. And even in a kind of a baby facey thing, he apologized to the other members of War Dogs, because this is where some of the switches come too with Finlay. Before, he was just absolutely like, all of you guys are in service of me, and if that means, but guys fall on the way in service of me, then that's just the way it's got to be. And now he's starting to do the baby face thing where he kind of cares about his boys a little bit there too. So even apologized to him a little bit for not seeing SANADA coming. And then now, of course, they're going to try. If you want to talk about David Finlay being strong, now he's got to carry House of Torture in one of those matches that's going to be compared to the United Empire dog pound match. Good luck, guys.
Shillelagh versus push-up bar.
Yujiro Takahashi is going to be in this friggin' thing, guys. This is going to be a heavy lift for David Finlay. Now, Sho's a talented guy. Kanemaru is talented, no question about it. Evil can wrestle, just doesn't so much because he's doing this gimmick. But boy, after that whole thing, what we saw with United Empire going back to
maybe literally.
Yeah, I'm saying.
Yeah, boy.
I mean, they've done. They
just killed time by handcuffing 3 guys to the ring and just having the other guys work.
Remember the handcuff Rambo?
Yeah, I do.
Oh man,
we nobody should remember the handcuff Rambo. I'm sorry I brought it up.
Good luck to them is all I'm saying. Good luck to them.
Yeah, I mean a match where Hinari legitimately almost died.
Yeah.
I mean like for real.
Great idea.
Yeah. Just
that was when Gabe Kidd was just a little too excited in his matches for a while. I mean, thankfully that's calmed down. So now
that was quite the stretch.
Yeah, Hinari and Eddie Kingston sitting there looking at each other, going, "What the hell, dude?" It's like, okay, all right, he's calmed down a little bit in the ring anyway. So a couple things. Windy City Riot. Let's go down that list now and very quickly because I know we're a little short on time, but we're going to go down the Windy City Riot card here. And Zane J and CJ Tino. CJ Tino is another one of their guys in the LA dojo. Zane J has apparently been over in Japan with the Noge dojo guys for a little bit too. So we'll see that he did improve, Zane J. But these Strong Survivor matches are openers, and they're just kind of the palate cleansers, or appetizers, I mean. But Zane J's done a decent job, so we'll see how CJ is. TJP, and Bacon mentions a match that forced people into retirement. Yeah, kind of, but Coughlin was headed that way no matter whether he wrestled that match or not. His body was not going to hold up, unfortunately. I miss him too. He was a talented guy. TJP and Tom Lawler. It's a match. Here it is.
This is like the quintessential, like, we've got these guys on contract and they live in America. And I like them both. I genuinely like
this
them
definitely
both.
tells me this card is they were budgeting to put this card together.
Yeah, I like them both. I do like that the first song that's played on this show, the proper card, will be Tom Lawler's banger of a theme. It is pretty great. It's so good. I want more Tom Lawler in my New Japan, but it's just for whatever reason doesn't seem to be in the cards. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see him tomorrow. And I'm excited to hear that slimy theme song. It's so slimy. I love it.
It's just it is puzzling though, not to get off on a rant on that. It is puzzling because man, he had a pretty decent G1. It's not like he went over there and tripped over his shoelaces.
When they gave us a star, it's unfortunate.
Yeah, I don't know what the story is there. I've never really asked, honestly, but I love that he keeps popping up on the US shows.
I'm up on it. It'll be a
TJP.
good match.
I'm sure y'all talked about, was the TJP stuff out last week? That he didn't want to do best of Super Juniors.
He declined a contract and he's freelance.
Yeah, and he's sort of not under contract. I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
Here's the thing: is like 2 months ago, I would have thought TJP is winning this match, no problem. And now I'm just like, it could go either way, and I don't really care.
Sure.
Okay.
I hope they have a great time.
I do.
Yeah, it'll be a good match.
I always like when Tom Lawler gets paid.
There you go.
Fair enough.
Mina Shirakawa and Azumi, this will be a terrific match. These two know each other like the back of each other's hands there. Mina and Azumi, with the winner getting Mercedes Moné at Resurgence. So we're winners either way in this one. Mina is a bigger star in the United States right now and getting kind of the newcomer AEW push. She just said goodbye to Stardom very, very recently. And so I would lean toward Mina probably winning this thing. If Azumi wins, Azumi versus Mercedes would be a great match. We're in good shape either way. So this will be a good one. The next one will be a good one. But Mina and Azumi.
I feel like Mina and Azumi did they wrestle both in singles matches? Like Mercedes wrestled Mina at Tokyo Dome, right?
Yeah. Well, and then Azumi was part of that triple threat with
Husky, but I didn't know if they had done a singles match before. Because they haven't, I'm leaning towards a singles match with Azumi.
That would make sense since it's for a New Japan show.
Yeah.
And Mina hasn't popped back up in AEW.
She seems to be trending away from this.
And you know what? You might just talk me into that a little bit too, because if they do Mina versus Mercedes, they might want to do it on AEW. Since Mina's going to be an AEW person. Yeah. All right. Fair enough.
Right.
That's fair. Good point. Strong openweight tag team championship match. Jarrell Nelson and Royce Isaacs, West Coast Wrecking Crew, the champions, against Kevin Knight and Kushida.
World class Wrecking Crew.
The world-class Wrecking Crew. Excuse me. You're absolutely right. How dare I? How dare I?
How could you possibly get it wrong when they are featured acts in the strong openweight tag team division for the last, I don't know, decade? What do you say? I don't know. I mean, this is, if you were to say book a strong tag team title match and think nothing of what's happening storyline wise or nothing of who is the actual champion, this is the match I would have put on paper. I'm like, this will probably work.
It'll be a good match. It's going to be a good match.
Yeah.
And actually the fact that Kevin Knight has now announced that he's signed with both AEW and New Japan does it at least a bit of a favor of putting doubt in your mind as to who wins this thing. Because if you thought that he was just going to AEW, then you wouldn't think that he would win necessarily, or a smaller chance. It's never zero, but a smaller chance. Now that he signed to both, maybe he wins the thing. It puts the titles in a little more jeopardy than they were.
I don't know if they'd put the titles on these guys before they're doing the junior, the best of the super juniors.
No, I understand. I'm just saying it does throw a little bit of doubt into the mix.
It does.
Yeah. I still think someone's pinning Kushida.
Yeah, probably.
I'm with you on that one, Chris Samsa.
Safe bets. I don't know.
I do.
Call your bookies.
I
think Kevin Knight going to be PROTECTED.
Yes.
Yeah.
At least in that match. Now we're talking.
Strong openweight championship. It's an Iron Man match. It's going 30 minutes no matter what. Who most falls wins. Tomohiro Ishii and Gabe Kidd. Boys, we can't go wrong here.
Can't go wrong, except getting here was a mess.
The reason this is an Iron Man match makes zero sense. But now that we're here, we're getting an Iron Man match between two really good guys.
It is a way to potentially get this strong openweight title off of Gabe in a way that's a little somehow convoluted, or like he at least got one over on Ishii or whatever it may be, right?
He'll get a pin or whatever. It can be fluky.
It's a little bit better than your visual pin while the ref is down or blah, 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 right? So I don't doubt that could happen and that Ishii could have a prominent spot on the Resurgence show. Sure. And I do think you've got to get the strong title off of Gabe somehow so that he can go and do bigger things in proper domestic Japan.
Yeah.
New Japan.
Yeah.
So Resurgence is for sure a week after Dontaku, right? They're doing the same business model. They do the Japan show.
It's the 9th, 10th.
So
yes, basically the weekend after. Okay. Yeah.
So Gabe Kidd
Friday.
There's no reason for Gabe Kidd not to make the Resurgence show if he's booked for the
No.
Yeah. Because that's
this should be a delightful match. I was there for their San Jose match. Another 30 minutes of them going hot and mean on each other is probably going to be what everyone asks for.
Yeah, it'll be cool.
El Fantasmo and Rocky Romero against Naito and Titan. This is basically a delivery system for Tetsuya and Naito so that they can have a big draw on the card, I think, right here. So, there's no storyline here. It's going to be a match. Someone's going to win, someone's going to lose. But Rocky is very good. Fantasmo's good. Titan's very good. And hopefully those three can carry Naito to something. Naito will be in to do his signature stuff that he can't do anymore, and we'll move on. But
I don't see it going it's not building to anything.
Yeah,
It's a match to get
sells tickets. Naito's on the card.
Yeah, it gets the family on the card.
I fully expect ELP to be the hardest working guy in this match, while Naito is wearing a t-shirt and Rocky is patting himself on the back for getting into a match in which the other guys aren't going to be working that hard.
Well, the fans in the United States did this to themselves because they chanted t-shirt Naito last time. So now Naito knows that is actually a crowd pleaser.
I have permission.
The more he does, it's less of what the crowd wants. It's a very strange situation to be in, but here we are.
All right. What else we got? Hey.
Well, there we go. Special singles match. David Finlay, Zack Sabre Jr. Once again, we can't really go wrong here. This would be great. It's interesting to see how this one goes. It's one fall, 30 minutes. I would say that this would go all 30 if we weren't going to have an Iron Man match earlier on in the card.
Yeah.
So someone's going to win this thing, I think. But Zack Finlay, either way, it'll be a terrific match. You could have Finlay lose here because his real storyline is with House of Torture, and there's no shame in losing to Zack. You could have Zack lose again. I'm not sure there's real utility in that because Zack isn't going directly into something else where he can triumph. So I'm leaning 55 toward Zack beating Finlay in this one somehow.
I think there's a good chance Zack wins and we see Zack at the end of the night.
Yeah, it would make sense.
Yeah,
it would make sense.
I think this was an interesting match, and I think a lot of it was booked to make people think that Finlay was going to win that match beforehand, and we were going to do. And now that we have it, it's fine. I read a Fightful article in which Sean Ross Sapp and Finlay sat down, and it was pretty clear to me that Sean Ross Sapp hadn't been watching a whole lot of New Japan because he was talking about what a great run Finlay had been on this year, and then
they used a picture of a different wrestler in the press for that.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I think
it's AI.
No, it's a wrestler.
It's Jason Hodge.
It's Jason Hodge.
Yeah, but there's also it's AI on his belly button, like it's all swirled. If you look at his belly button,
even better.
It's all a mess. But
so I would venture to guess that folks at Fightful aren't they're not watching a lot of New Japan.
They're not paying a whole lot of attention to that. They talked about what a great run he had been on and how many times that Zack Sabre Jr. and David Finlay had been in the ring with each other over the last 4.5 years. And I'm like, huh? They've barely been in the ring.
Not much.
Yeah, they've had like 3 matches in the last 2 years. And I was just like, oh, David Finlay, I know that you want to get on Fightful because that's the big website, but
New Japan's PR is booked by someone else ahead of the US shows.
Sure.
So
it was just funny. It was like we could have done a better job. That's all I'm saying.
Well, it's up to the press to do a good job.
Yeah, I was going to say that's Fightful's thing that they need to get
to the press to do a good job. And I say that not outside of the wrestling world too.
So this is my plug to check out the Fightful article with David Finlay. It's something.
Next match after this one.
It's not worth a click.
Hiroshi Tanahashi, Konosuke Takeshita. Once again, this is a kinship match. Hiroshi Tanahashi's final match in the United States of America. Tanahashi and Takeshita. Another loss probably coming for Tanahashi. I mean, Takeshita's protected as all hell and should be for that matter. Don't blame him a bit. Tanahashi probably will put in some work here, but put the man over.
Tanahashi's going to make him look, or Takeshita's going to make Tanahashi look amazing, and I wouldn't be surprised if we get a babyface Takeshita, just like,
oh yeah,
you're my guy, blah blah blah, and just kind of breaking the illusion. I would not be shocked, and I'd be fine with it.
Yeah, and that's exactly what these Tanahashi matches are for.
Yeah.
But will this be the best Tanahashi retirement road match?
What's been the best one so far?
Well, I'm not even talking about so far. I'm saying, I mean, the
Shingo was the best one so far by a country mile.
Yes, but like this should be better than that, and I can't imagine another wrestler more capable of lifting Tanahashi up to a level.
I got one for you.
Yeah, please.
Shibata, Forbidden Door.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, but that's a vibes match.
Sure,
more than anything.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's. Don't get me wrong, vibes very important in these.
It's the
types
only
of
one that I could think of that is like Counterpoint, not 100% behind that.
Or
my own argument.
Or Goto in the Dome.
Yes.
Right. I mean,
I'll toss out Zack Sabre Jr. also because Zach knows how to work with a guy who can't jump and run.
Sure. Okay. All right. So there's some other stuff out there.
The Takeshita one is a strong contender for being the best one.
Like
but
if I'm
going to run away with it, we can't know until we see the match.
Yeah. If I'm just thinking through the potential, it is there, and I'm excited. I'm really excited for this.
I would take. Is it going to be a top 3 match for Tanahashi this year? Yes.
Yeah. Tanahashi, who has already wrestled more singles matches this year than he did last year, and it is April.
Yeah.
It's
he had a plan for this year, and
he rested. He rested.
Oh, do you remember all those people that thought he might actually retire against Evil this past year, throwing away all the shows in which he would do a singles match and all the box office
and all the tickets?
Fools.
Yeah, all the tickets.
Fools.
Hirooki Goto, Shota Umino. This is the nominal main event here. Goto is the champion. It is for the IWGP World Heavyweight title. Hirooki Goto and Shota Umino. We kind of covered this one a little bit earlier as to what we. But what are you expecting out of this one, Jeremy, and then Chris? As far as I don't see. Again, I'm favoring Goto probably hanging on right here. But is this another plot point with Shota Umino, or is this going to be a thing where he loses yet again and just kind of mopes back to the dressing room, or are we getting an angle out of this? What are your thoughts?
I think we might get an angle out of it. I don't see Goto losing the title to Shota Umino in the U.S. when the groundswell support in Japan is so strong. Like, to me, that just seems like a fundamental booking error for the year. But I do think that there is a Shota Umino story that is going to be born out of this because of the desire that I want to lead Hontai, as Shota Umino exclaimed. Hirooki Goto is leading Hontai. This isn't a match about the title. This is a match about leading Hontai. And when the title is secondary to the story of what they're trying to say, it doesn't make me think that the title is truly in jeopardy. I think this match is in a little bit of trouble because there's a real possibility that a lot of people are there for Tanahashi and Takeshita in the Western world, and they're not necessarily in for Goto as the world title champion. I'm not sure. But it's just one of those, like, I could see a few people leaving before the match and that being a commentary point. I don't know. That's the only thing. I'm all in on Goto. I'm not sure people are all in on Shota, but people are way more into Takeshita and Tanahashi and possibly a form.
Anecdotally, I was in the building for the first Forbidden Door, and one of the biggest pops of the night was when Goto's music hit. And it was early in the night. I'll give it that. It was, so people were excited, but that was a sold out United Center. And Goto's music hit, and that crowd, and we're talking Chicago, right? So this is 1-for-1. That crowd went apeshit for Goto's music.
I hope so.
So, and I think 4,000 tickets sold in Chicago means you've got a bunch of really engaged, smart fans coming to this show.
I hope so.
So yeah, I do think there will be a segment, a larger segment that is into Shota Umino because of the Moxley connection, the Ospreay matches, all that. But I do think that I don't think people are going to leave.
Given that San Jose, they had the Zack Sabre Jr. Hechicero match that was the semi-main, and then it was Desperado and Taiji Ishimori. It was California. The show started exceptionally late and ran late because of the Sumi Sakai thing. But there were a number of people that walked out after the Zack Sabre Jr. match at Hechicero and left before Desperado and Ishimori. I'm worried about that happening again.
That's not a world title match, though.
I understand, but there's also the familiarity of who's coming to these shows. The familiarity of Goto as the world champion to the hardcore is being received incredibly well. We have not had the experiment in America of what Goto's reception is.
But
I mean, Chicago's a hardcore town as far as wrestling goes.
There's that, but also I don't think don't think it I think I pay enough attention to the casual side of the New Japan world.
Mhm.
My following base, fan, whatever, like the people who pay attention to me are often on the more casual side of the New Japan stuff. They're specifically watching all the shows that have English commentary.
Right.
They're finding the resources, etc., like that. So my audience and the people that I, end up seeing commentary from is a little bit of a wider net, I think, than like the Discords, the people that are hunting down those spaces. And that even that group of people has been really excited by this Goto title reign. And that's even after they took it off of Zack Sabre Jr., who is essentially that group's primary
avatar,
driver. Yeah, right. Like, it was Ospreay. It transitioned directly to Zack Sabre Jr. And then,
that's the wrestler they put in their profile photo.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and nobody really looked at that and said, oh my God, Hirooki Goto. Like, it wasn't like when Muta won the GHC. Like, we're not in that zone of like people being like, oh, they're just giving it to the olds. Like, Goto's a real guy. For anyone who's ever paid any modicum of attention. So I don't.
I hope you're right.
You're right. Yeah.
And I hope you're right.
I hope I'm right and I hope you're right, or whoever said it, that Goto is winning this match.
I hope you're right. I hope the Goto support is true and real, and he closes out that main event the way he's been closing out those main events in Japan.
And the Windy City Riot show, also it's a paid show on New Japan World, right? So it's $19.99. I don't think they're gonna bury a title change on a US show that is a paid show. One of the very few paid shows on New Japan World now. So I think all signs are pointing to Goto retaining, some advancement of the Umino should he be in Hantai's story, and we go home. These Chicago shows have classically been really well paced. They move pretty quickly. So we're starting, I believe it's starting at 7 p.m. local time. My bet is it's out by 10 o'clock local time. And
that's with a guaranteed 30-minute in the middle. So it'll be interesting. They'll be moving things along.
Yeah. So I think things are going to move pretty quick. I'm excited. I think it'll be a good show. I think it'll be a fun show to be in the building for. And of
course, we are set up for the classic New Japan trope, which is winning a special singles match earlier and then challenging the champion afterwards. Zack and David Finlay waiting right there to do so.
And if Zack's the challenger for Goto at Dantaku, right? That's probably where they would do that.
Makes a lot of sense.
I mean, another credible defense, though.
Yeah.
Another 50-50. I don't think Goto and Umino is quite 50-50. I think I'm leaning pretty heavy. And now if it was in Osaka at Dominion, I think I would think it was more 50-50. Mostly the venue. And I think they're leaning on them doing a title change at last year's Windy City Riot to plant that seed of doubt in Umino's favor. But I think Goto stands strong, gets his US moment. It may be his only one, and I think it'll give the US fan base a chance to cheer that on. And again, it'll progress the Shota Umino story that he's not ready to be the leader of Hantai, which means he needs to probably make his own unit.
I think so. All right. Well, that is going to be Windy City Riot. That'll be on NJPW World as an extra pay-per-view. You don't have to have a subscription. They'll be happy to take your money, even if they don't get it every single month.
That's
good. I paid that $20 with a QR code. That was fun.
Something like that. I did see that. No subscription is not required for that one. But yeah, you can get it anyway. But that'll be tomorrow night from Chicago Wintrust Arena. And so with that, anything else we need to cover before we head out of here? We went a little long today, but I think it's been a lot of fun. We appreciate
we've been going only an hour a couple of times the last couple of weeks. We had to make up the time.
A lot going on right now.
There is. It's a very busy time. And Chris, if there's anything you want to plug or whatever, but I just want to say again, we really appreciate you coming on the show. We enjoy your work. And again, the stats and all the numbers that you keep track of, the way that Chris weaves them in. What you do helps enrich the coverage of New Japan and enrich the storyline. So I just wanted to thank you for all the work you put into all that. So because it's made me as a New Japan fan understand things and context a little bit better. So much obliged. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you. Yeah. On that, you can find that stuff in a myriad of New Japan Discords, including the Fight Game Discord. When I do them, I just drop the PDFs right in there as I deprioritize my use of Twitter and social media, which has been great for my health and mental health.
Amen to that.
So, but I'm still around over there. If you need to find me, you can find me there. But I'm meeting people where they're at, as they like to say in the business world. I'm meeting people where they're at. So the fans of New Japan are showing up in various Discords. So I do drop the stats and info packet directly in. I don't think I'm doing one tomorrow. I just think I'm going to enjoy the day in Chicago and, hang out with some pals that are coming into town from some other podcasts. So I think unless I stay up late tonight, I'm going to skip tomorrow's. There's not a ton to do. Maybe I'll do the top couple matches, but, but you can find those specifically in the Fight Game Discord. If you want to find me, just tag me. But I will drop whatever work I do, especially as we get into Best of Super Juniors season into those spaces. And
are you doing a pool? Like, you doing a whole thing for the Super Juniors?
For Super Juniors, we
not for the sickos.
It's a lot.
Not for the niche 10 people that run podcasts that all want to compete.
Yeah,
with each other.
we talked about it, but right now it's still a pretty heavy lift to put together something like what we did for the G1. We don't have it plug and play yet, so that's what we've been working on, is getting to the point where we can actually run those types of contests for all of the tournaments very easily. We're not there yet. Hopefully by next year's Best of Super Juniors, actually, this year's G1 will for sure do. But yeah, nothing like that for Super Juniors.
Camp is working on their tech.
we have been for years, and I feel like that's the story at the end of every podcast. I'm like, well, we got some things coming. Still got some things coming.
So for that data that Chris is providing for us, if you want to join our Discord, just email gg@fightgamemedia.com. Let them know that you are interested in participating in the Fight Game Media Discord. We talk AEW, WWE, New Japan, Stardom, all the F4W podcast, all of our podcasts, random stuff, mental health, share pictures of our pets.
It is one of the good ones.
Yeah.
It is one of the good ones for sure. Good people in there.
Appreciate it. What else you got? Anybody, anything?
That's it for me.
Yeah, I was saying, I was heartbroken. I did see one thing. It was very briefly though. I saw, because they're doing all the press for WrestleMania, Gunther did a podcast. I don't know if you saw this, but he revealed that if WWE had not snatched him up for NXT UK when they did, he was headed to New Japan.
Oh, I didn't.
He could have headed United Empire.
Man, Gunther,
he would have been there for like a minute. He would have
if there was a dream scenario for me, it's Gunther in the G1.
If Jonah was there for 9 months, Gunther would have been there for 3.
Hey, if those 3 got us a G1, that would have been awesome. Especially in that era. In that era, when Walter was very, very compelling. That would have been cool.
So Walter versus Okada, Walter versus Kota Ibushi, Walter versus Naito when he could still go, and Walter. Anyway,
Cobb,
there you have it.
Big
Cobb,
guys,
it would have been.
Still might get that one.
I saw that and I just thought, well, doggone it. But he has re-signed with WWE, and who could blame him? The man's main eventing WrestleMania.
He's got a bus now. He's got his own bus for travel. I want my own bus for travel. That'd be
awesome, wouldn't it? Bus would be great. All right. Well, with that in mind, don't forget, Power Bombshells will be back at 1 p.m. Eastern on Sunday. We got the Dynamite Show. We've got 5-Star Joshi Show on the podcast feed. All the great stuff. The Wrap. Don't forget, this is the time of year for the Wrap. We got Keela and Scott telling you everything that's going on in WWE.
I will be podcasting every day next week from Thursday through like Sunday.
Oh my God.
Check out the Dynamite Show. They watch, so you don't have to.
So, if you want more of me, I don't know why. I'll be guesting with the Fight Game podcast with Garrett Gonzalez for WrestleMania weekend in Vegas, and should be interesting.
And then I'll be heading off to Japan around Dontaku time. So there you go. Nice. All right. So I'll be there for a couple of weeks. So with that in mind, for Chris Samsa, thank you once again, Chris, for being here. We appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
All right. So for Jeremy Feinstein, I'm Stephen Conway. This has been Speaking of Strong Style. We'll be back next week to wrap up Windy City Riot and look forward to Super Juniors. We will talk to you again real soon.